Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's special episode of the World of Gaming. And why is it so special? Not only do we have two amazing guests, but we have to run the show without my co-host. Wandering Dutch is at his home country, where he was born in the Netherlands for the week. But we had these fine gentlemen here filling in. First of all, let me welcome Gaming Forte. Man, it's been way too long since we've been on a show, so I'm so glad you made it. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Just working a lot. Lightfall just released for Destiny because I've been playing that a lot, playing a bunch of other games and stuff. Actually, funny enough, I just bought a brand new flight stick for Flight Sim. So I've really been diving into that because I'm a huge aviation nerd. So I just bought one of those like 2 days ago and been playing a lot of Flight Sim with that. So shout out to Microsoft for bringing this amazing game called Flight Sim. But yeah, what about you, man? How's everything been with you?
Oh, it's been great. Actually, I had a fantastic week at work. We had our yearly reports from management, and I got some praise. That's always good. So I feel good, energized this week, and so I'm looking forward to having the show. Been playing some games, of course. Played a lot of H4 again this week, surprisingly. Close to the 600-hour mark now. But Season 4 is fantastic, man. And I love it. I'm this close to I'm playing online ranked matches, and I'm this close to rank for the first time to Platinum 2 tier. So, touching into the regions where the esports players play. So it's exciting, man.
Do that.
It's exciting. But let me also welcome Mav, man. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm like, we're about to get hit by some storms later today, so some pretty significant ones. So gonna be keeping an eye on that. Maybe go hiding in the closet here and there. I hope it doesn't affect our show tonight, but we'll see what happens.
Is that snow? Is it snow?
No, it's not snow. It's starting to get in this area when we get into springtime, which we're on that cusp right now. We get insanely severe weather. So tornadoes, possibly large hail, high winds, the typical stuff.
Can you imagine living in a state or a country that doesn't know what snow is?
Yeah,
and doesn't know how to adapt to snow. Like, Matt, do they shut down the whole state when it snows there?
It doesn't snow here. We get ice.
Okay,
same
ice.
So yes, because we don't have salt, we have sand, right? So they just cover the roads with play sand, pretty much is what it feels like. And it's like, yay, let's just slide around a little bit more. It doesn't help anything. So, especially on the neighborhood roads and stuff like that, like the main roads do better because the more cars that drive on it, it helps. But in the neighborhood roads, like we got one about a month ago, and literally I couldn't even walk on the grass because it was that much compacted ice. Like it wasn't depressing when you walked on it. It just slid, so you couldn't hardly even walk to the car.
So the whole state became and
we don't have car tools to break the ice or Windows stuff. So it's just let's just go sit in the car and wait for an hour for this thing to melt off of my windshield. Pretty much, it's not fun when it happens.
You remind me a lot of my roommate I had when I was in my early 20s. I lived in a shared apartment, and I had a roommate who came from Mexico. He was like an exchange student. Yeah, he went to the local university, and in his first winter, he saw for the very first time in his life snow. And he was like, ooh, snow. And he didn't even have gloves and nothing. He was absolutely not prepared for those temperatures. It was awesome.
Yeah, did y'all see there's some snow in Disneyland or something like that?
I did.
That is crazy, dude. That I've never seen.
Hey, man. Well, look, Magic Kingdom, man. Everything magical stuff happens there.
Wonder if it was in the Frozen area.
Oh Lord,
Frozen.
All right, Mav, what have you been playing?
Oh, I've been playing this and that at Age 2 on console. amazing implementation for RTS controls.
Definitely.
All you people that said it couldn't be done, I'm laughing at you now because it is absolutely impeccable. Age 2 on Series X and S is great experience.
Yeah.
I've been playing that. Still Warzone off and on with Kate. That's one of her favorite things to play. And I'm looking forward to trying some more along. I have played a little bit of Atomic Heart. That's really cool so far. I played a little bit of it, maybe like 2 hours. But besides that, just this and that, man. Been pretty busy, so I haven't had as much time to get fully invested like I do sometimes. But the other one I keep going back to, I cannot pull away from, is Midnight Suns. I
Nice.
think
I
my
have
my
not
two
tried
favorite.
that yet.
It's so good, dude.
Yeah.
My favorite 2 games right now are Age 2 on console and Midnight Suns. Point blank period.
Sweet. I mean, I can't blame you about H2. I played it on the console. I fully agree on the controller implementation. It is fantastic. Really, the little things I was worried about, like, okay, are they gonna manage grouping? How will they provide like a chance to chain commands of your workers together? How will they transfer that to console? And they did a wonderful job. It's simply me being addicted to H4 that much and having played almost 600 hours in H4. I gotta tell you, man, H2 simply feels outdated.
Yeah, well,
of course.
And later this year, we're gonna get Age 4 on console too. So the most exciting thing for me is like Age 2 being as good as it is right now. Just gives me so much hope for Age 4.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they nailed it with those controls, and they can take everything they learned with that game and put it in the other. There's some differences, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've been playing 4-player co-op against the AI, like 4-player skirmishes versus 4-player AI. With like Pong and Jasper and Psychonauts, a bunch of our family over there, and fun speculation. But the amount of units and the chaos you can have in Age 2
is
when doing 4v4, it's amazing, dude.
It is. Amazing. It is. I recently played H4 online with Dutch. Nice. We also started playing against the AI. But then we went against other players in a team. It was so much fun, man. So much fun. Let me briefly shout out Drawn TJ, who sends in the first super chat of the day. He says, hey guys, hi Mav, hi Forte, hi Boxenberger. Sony screwed up. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that a little later in the show. The EU basically, gave them, not the EU, pardon me, the FTC, basically said, hey guys, you guys have to present your exclusive roadmap, and it's gonna be an interesting discussion. We're gonna have that later, a little bit later. I first want to start with something I got excited about. I don't know about you guys, but when I heard that Mav is on here, people already started DMing me again and asking now the tough question: who actually is the leader of the Marchers? We need to know because last week we had Pong on, and Pong denied this title and said it's actually Mav. So Mav, who is it?
No, see, Pong is just trying to like back down from being embarrassed about it if it doesn't happen. So I've been standing on the square, and I've been saying like, no, this is gonna happen, and now Pong thinks it's gonna happen too, right? We're still on board. The thing is that we did not accept Pong Soul's resignation as the leader.
Okay.
So he is still, until we say otherwise, the leader of the Marchers, because we got to have a face, and he's on so many podcasts, right? That Pong Soul has to be designated as leader. And I think that it was originally Rand that designated him the leader of the Marchers cabal, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Steel Rain, I would think is one of the first ones to put out that date back like 8 or 9 months before it was even a big conversation. He put that date out, and we always kind of speculated, well, when could it be? That date looked like a good day, and we're still on. We're still holding strong, man. I know that all the insiders said, hey, the imminent announcement for the deep dive, and we're like, yes, this is going to be our time. The marchers are going to rise and laugh in everybody's faces, right? However, this is it's been a little bit of a setback this week.
Yes.
Mind you, though, our determination has not wavered. We're still confident because guess what? They're still next week. And if they announce the deep dive next week, it would still lead us with enough time for the deep dive to actually happen on the 15th, which is when a lot of the insiders said it was probably going to happen anyway, which would still give us a good 2 weeks lead up before launch. So let's go.
Forte, where do you stand on this? You part of the marchers?
Listen,
he is now.
Man,
we converted him on Friday.
They converted me the other day. I was sitting there like, okay, this all kind of makes sense. Yeah, I was like, there's a lot. I mean, it's not illogical. I mean, as much as people sit there and they think about it, it's like, there's no way that they're going to do this with no build up for one of the biggest IPs one of the very first new IPs that Bethesda has kind of released outside of Redfall that's getting ready to come up.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, dang, but then when you start thinking about the numbers, like if they want to, this is all predicated if you want to hold them to the whole 12-month theory. Yeah. Everything that was shown last year is going to be here before June of this year.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about the months that are left, there's not really that much time. March is wide open for them. I think a lot of people that are kind of against it are thinking like, there's no way they're going to release Starfield before Redfall because Redfall was always the game that was always thought to come out first. But who really knows? And I think a lot of
believe
people
that. I always said that I'm not March. I don't know about March, but I said before Redfall.
Right. That's where I was at, before Redfall. But I will say this, though. The biggest thing for me, it ultimately comes down to when you think about what happened at their last showcase, I think a lot of people are really holding on hope to the fact that there's a good chance that they could announce something. I don't know if it'll be Starfield. A lot of people are hoping that's what it is. But that whole Hi-Fi Rush situation, I think everybody's hoping Microsoft could do that again. And they're going to do it with their biggest IP of this year. And I'm like, so only reason I'm converted to it is because I'm really hoping that they don't delay Starfield out of the first half of this year. Because the only way that because I don't think it's going to come in June. It's either going to come in March, like Mav said.
Yeah.
And like the rest of the marchers said, or we're going to see something in September for that game. And and unfortunately, it sucks either way. Either it's going to be really no marketing for it and they're just going to push it out, which is great, but not as
smart as it should be. Yeah.
Right. Not a smart business strategy, or they're going to delay the game and we're going to get it later on in the year, which, sucks. But it's coming, though. That's all that really matters.
I mean, I'm always happy when they take the time they need to actually bring it out in that presentable stage. And like you said, it's a big release. I dare say it's probably at least in the top 3 of their biggest releases ever. If you think about what a Starfield is, this is really like the hype level of a Halo 3 kind of release. It's the makers of Skyrim, their first new IP in 25 years. Used to be like this brand that is known across all platforms. Yeah, it's almost still coming out on many platforms, PC, cloud, and of course console. But this is a significant big release, and I get that they take the time to polish it up. But like you guys already said, they have to kind of think where to put this game. I don't see that in May. They are not going to cannibalize themselves against Redfall in June. I also don't see that with Diablo coming that month.
There's so much in June. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
And then in May they also have Zelda is coming that month and things like that. And you kind of want to avoid that. So that's why I've said before Redfall. So that means probably April, or I'm with Forte. It's then September or even October, and then they make it one of their big holiday games. But the shitstorm will be big if they move that out of that 12-month window. Yeah. You know the shitstorm. And so I was really thinking about it. How much lead time for a big marketing campaign do you actually need when you have this showcase? I bet that the game comes out within the next 3-4 weeks after the showcase, because that's when the hype is big. That's when everyone is going to start to talk. You don't need like months and months and months of marketing campaign.
Yes, that's what we've been saying, man.
Exactly.
I will say, Pong made a really good point where he talked about, I forget what game it was that they released, but Bethesda did release
Oblivion.
Oblivion. They did announce it and did release it 18 days later.
Yeah,
they did. They had the same exact path with Oblivion back in the day, and that was somebody brought that to our attention in one of the comments on one of our podcasts, and he mentioned that originally Oblivion was supposed to be a November release. It got pushed back. They did their big release date and show reveal in March, and it released 18 days later in that March. So they've gone through this process before with the big release, and that was also an Xbox exclusive. I think when it
it was and how much more time than, let's say, 3 or 4 well created and like well put together marketing weeks do you need? When you have that showcase, the hype is at its peak, and then you start out rolling the ads and stuff, and then 3-4 weeks later you can release the game. So I don't think that the marketing thing is an argument. I think it's like literally 2 things. First, is the game ready?
Yes.
They don't want to mess that up, and the other thing is, of course, what do you cannibalize on? So where do you put this? And
April would make sense too. Like April would be a completely fine guess, right?
Yeah,
we were leaning on March originally because the date just was a fun date, right? So it could be March or it could be April. And I'll stand strong on our March square until March isn't possible. And then the Marchers will become Aprilers automatically.
Indeed. We shall see. Okay, guys, let me briefly shout out 2 chats. The first is actually not a super chat, but Tom from Toonami became a channel member. Thank you so much for the support, man. That will now grant you access to not only the customized badges and emojis, but of course early access to all the videos I upload. And then I want to shout out Drawn TJ, who sends in $5. He says, don't forget Forza Motorsport is in the 12-month window. If they don't, it's an L for them. Yeah, man,
that definitely ain't coming out.
No. And I made a bet with Dutch. Yeah, Dutch and I, we're both going to Gamescom this year. We already booked our hotel, separate rooms, but same hotel, and it's gonna be awesome. And Xbox Mike is also coming, and we're gonna have a great time. And we made a bet about who's buying the first round when we meet at Gamescom, and I said Forza is gonna be the game that is moved out of the 12-month window, and so far everything looks like I'm going to win my bet. What do you guys think? Forza still going to hit?
I think Forza is going to be September because it's traditionally for motorsport has always been September.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I think Motorsport's the one that gets pushed because they've been putting out that energy, right?
Yeah.
Like they haven't put that energy at all for Starfield yet. In fact, they've doubled down on the first half with their website. They did not do that with Forza Motorsport, and in fact, with their monthly updates, they've been saying, give us time and stuff like that, right? So when they're starting to put that energy out there, it kind of leads you to think, okay. And then we also had heard before that they were only entering polishing phase in like around January sometime.
Yeah.
So with all of those things, I think Forza is the one that moves out of that first half, probably August, September time. I would assume potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's another reason why we've doubled down on Starfield, because if 2 out of the big 3 games you had from the last showcase saying within the next 12 months both missed, that's not as good of a look, right? Like,
Agreed.
I feel like that would be a big miss if the second half of your year this year was primarily the games that were supposed to be out last year, right? So the hope is that they mostly clear the slate for the first half of this year, like they had said they were going to, like they doubled down on, and then have other games that they had already planned on releasing for this holiday. Maybe Hellblade 2, right? Because they're starting to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's use that as a segue, man. as if we would have planned it earlier today.
I was doing that for you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, earlier today, Ninja Theory. I was blanking on the studio name. Ninja Theory actually dropped a development diary. So the development diaries from Ninja are back, and this one was about how they recreated Iceland. So you guys had the chance to watch that, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have seen how they went to Iceland, and they talked about how they wanted to capture like the original terrain, all the photogrammetry, and then of course the pandemic hit, and they were not able to fly there. They talked in the dev diary about how they already had booked everything and set up a tour and everything, and then they actually hired a photographer from Iceland, and he was like having a drone mapping like the parts of the island. Then he also did like a lot of photographs and stuff for the asset generation. And as soon as the pandemic was starting to slow down, they all flew over there. The environment artists and everyone. They went on a 12-day trip or 11 days trip through Iceland, visiting like historic buildings and just taking, of course, a lot of photogrammetry with them. So, guys, they also described a lot, and it got me excited, that they want to reach a level of realism in that game that has not been seen before, and that this is what they hope will bring the immersion, that you have the actual feeling, you play like a realistic game, a realistic and set in a realistic environment. They want the environment not to look like they imagined, but how it actually looks. Hearing all this not only has me excited, I don't know about you guys, but I still have the feeling that this game might actually be planned as one of the holiday titles for this year. So what do you guys think of this, Forte? Let's hear your thoughts on the game, man.
Listen, that game is the one game of all the games that they've been talking about that I've been the most excited for. Like, I adore the first Hellblade. Literally, that's like the only game that is a review on my channel for. That's how much I loved it. I was like, I was so impacted by the story, and I think some people read a little bit too much into some of the other things. I think that game was kind of built just to do the story, where the gameplay was kind of a secondary thing, even though, and I thought the gameplay was good. It was just a little clunky. I cannot wait to see what they do with that game. So I was a little disappointed when we didn't get an update for the game at the Game Awards, but seeing that they're going out of their way to actually, talk about some of the environment, some of the things that they did, the development cycle and stuff of it, was something that I was really, really happy to see. But in general, I just think it's time. That game was announced and shown off for the first time. I believe it was 2019. So we're 4 years after that. And I think it's about that time. And I do think that that game is going to be the holiday game for this year. I do believe that they are going to show off that game at E3. It's going to come out this year. A lot of people are going to say they think Avowed is that thing, but I think Avowed is going to end up being that spring game that's going to come like in February, March of 2024. So it's going to give it some space. So I think 2023 is looking really, really good for Xbox, as long as they just release the games that we are under the belief that they will release, just based off timelines and stuff that they haven't really shown or talked about yet. So I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen with Hellblade. And the biggest thing for them is, don't just show us another CGI trailer, show us gameplay, show us combat, because that's the one thing that people are a little bit more anxious to see, is just, what does the combat look like? We know the story is going to be great, because the first one had really, really good story, really good, motion capturing, really good overall ambiance. But what is the combat going to look like? And that's what I really want to see. But no matter what happens, I'm going to play this game, because it's literally my most anticipated Xbox game that they have in development.
Nice. Yeah, man, the combat, like you said, they had a dev diary, I want to say like 2 years ago now or so, when they talked about how they sent all the animators to martial art class, and they hired the choreographer of Star Wars to help with like the sword fights and everything. So I want to see that. Mav, where do you stand with Hellblade? By the way, I put up a poll. I also want to hear from everyone in the chat. Do you guys think it's a Holiday 23 title? So let us know and vote in the chat. But Mav, where do you stand?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. The first Hellblade game, originally I played at launch back on the PS3. I think it was PS4. I can't remember. PS4, right?
PS4, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, PS4. And I played it at launch for a little while, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but I didn't really get sucked in. And then after I started this channel and stuff, people kept telling me you need to play Hellblade. I'm like, yeah, I tried it. I wasn't in love with it or whatever. Got some updates, right, for free. And I was decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna listen to everybody. I'm gonna give it a shot. I got so hooked into the game. I don't know. I got past that hurdle that I'd always met before with the game.
Yeah.
And I just pushed through that. And once I kept playing, I just got like sucked in and immersed. Ended up playing the whole thing through in one stream. And it was like a 10-hour stream. Literally just sat there and played the game. It was amazing. One of my one of the most visually impressive like story-based games I've played. Also because the characters are like, it's like an actor on the screen pretty much, right? It's like you're watching a movie but playing the game. And it was absolutely an amazing game. But it's like a masterpiece in my opinion. Combat had a little bit of issues, but it wasn't that bad, like some people make it out to be. So since then, I've been really excited for Hellblade 2. They had 2 different showings so far at the Game Awards.
Yes.
Right. They've also done some other things. I think at one of the E3s, they kind of had another developer talk about
it. Was at Gamescom, but yeah.
Okay, and then they also had the other Iceland video. They've done this twice now, where they've shown us Iceland and talked about it and stuff. So out of all of these other big games, out of all the ones that they've been talking about for a long time, we've actually seen Hellblade 2 the most out of the ones like, you know, you can say Hellblade 2, Perfect Dark, Fable, Avowed, you know, all these ones in this category. Hellblade 2 is the one that they've been the most confident and ready to put content out there for people. So that leads me to think that it's probably one of the closest ones to release. And that would make sense if that's what they had planned for this year. And to get it fresh in people's minds, you release something like this now, right? Where you're going to get more into that gameplay stuff and other things later, maybe around E3 time, right?
I would assume so.
So you get that hype going even more. So you get this kind of stuff out of the way randomly. Like I don't think they announced this was going to happen. And if they did, I missed it. But this was a little significant video that to keep up to date with it. Plus, also the team's been doing a really good job on Twitter and social media of showing behind the scenes stuff that are really entertaining.
From the mocap studio and everything.
I love it.
Absolutely.
And you know, I do think this game could have potentially even hit before if it wasn't for the pandemic and everything. Because you really see in this video also how much of a setback that was for them. I mean, they talked about they had everything planned, they had all their flights planned, they had everything scheduled, and all of a sudden they were grounded. Right. So they actually had to figure out a different way of getting everything together to finish making this game.
Yeah.
Right. So they talked
like
about
I said,
how they solved that.
It is a game that heavily relies on mocap and stuff, which you can't do in the home office. You can code in the home office. You probably can also design, like, I don't know, create level and things if you have a proper workstation at home. But doing mocap, audio recording, getting photogrammetry from places around the world, impossible. So, but sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're right. I love the transparency of Ninja Theory with their development.
So
far as well.
Absolutely.
You know, because we see a lot of tweets like from other studios like In Exile and stuff like that. But they're, you know, a lot of these haven't announced their games yet. But we've seen like a lack of stuff from Perfect Dark in the industry. We've seen a lack of stuff from Playground. There's like these games were announced years ago. We haven't seen anything, right? The Hellblade 2's they're consistently putting out stuff to keep it people's minds on the game, control the narrative of it, and let people know, hey, this is development's going well. This is where everything's at. and it leads to confidence with the game, right? So they're
does.
doing a good job.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. The thing about Hellblade, you guys already touched upon a lot of things like the immersion, storytelling, the visuals, like being top notch, and this goes hand in hand with the super chat that came in from Tom from Toonami. He says he's calling it. It will set the bar for this generation, and I totally agree. I want to add the audio to this. You guys remember the binaural audio design where you really had like the feeling if you played the game with headphones that the voices are in your head.
Yeah.
It's like top notch. And that game the original one was done by a core team of 21 people, which is insane. If you think what they pulled off, and now they have the bigger funding, the bigger team. They were still relatively small for such a big AAA development project, but now they're gonna take the audio as well. They already talked about that to another level, and I cannot wait, honestly, to see where this is going and how they will push the technology. So shout out to Tom. I agree. I think this will set a new standard for visuals for the rest of the generation. I agree. And then let me shout out Drawn TJ, who sends in a super chat and says they did show gameplay for Hellblade 2. Yeah, they did. That was this like 8-minute or 9-minute sequence that they've shown at the Game Awards. A lot of people don't think it looked like gameplay because it was very cinematic. I assume it was for. Usually when they show stuff like that, it's usually from the very beginning of a game. So I could see that being like more the cinematic opening or something, what they have shown. But yeah, Forte, I'm with you. I want to see the combat, man. I want to see how this
combat.
Yeah, I want to see how that looks when really someone with a controller in the hand actually plays the game. I agree. Yeah, so what do people in the chat think? Is it gonna come out this year? So far, 66% in the chat said yes, 25% said no, and 9% asked the question, "What's Hellblade?" So yeah. I dare say about 2/3 of the community think it's gonna come out this year. So I bet that during E3 we will see the game. Yeah. Whether it comes out this year or not, but I would be surprised.
We better see it this year.
Is there another one that y'all would say would be likely for end of this year besides Hellblade 2? Like only one I can think of is maybe like Contraband, possibly, or Avowed. I don't know.
Contraband. Forte, go ahead.
But I was gonna say Contraband. Like I said, Contraband is because we have. I mean, all this is predicated on what we see at E3 this year. Yeah. But Contraband could be. We just haven't heard anything. All we still have is just that one CGI trailer. Mm-hmm. The only other thing I can say is you could probably flip Hellblade and Avowed. Say Avowed is coming at the end of this year and Hellblade is the beginning of next year. I think that's pretty much where you're looking at, just where those two games are going to be seated at with each other. Because I think from all the information we got, Avowed is very far along in its development, and it's closer than people think. And then Hellblade has been in development for the entirety of Microsoft owning the studio and some. So I just think that's where we're looking at. So whichever those games are going to be basically complementary. Whichever one comes out first, you're going to see that one probably with the next one within 2 to 3 months after it.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I ask Forte a question real quick? Just about something, because I don't know if this came out after you were on our show on Friday.
Yeah,
right? But
what's up?
There was stuff that came out online about a potential Xbox game getting a pending like release on the GameStop like release thing. I don't know if you can even speak on this stuff, right? But like how long? Okay, so when a game shows up that has like a placeholder without like a date, right?
Yeah.
That just says unnamed like Xbox game or whatever. How long usually does that stay that way before
Until they change it over.
until they change it over?
2 to
That's
3
what I'm curious.
weeks.
2 to 3 weeks. Okay, fair enough.
2 to
Okay.
3 weeks because
Okay.
let's say with the DualSense, the Edge controller that
Right.
was only PlayStation exclusive to their website. We saw that in our system probably 2 weeks ago, maybe 3,
Okay.
and it was under a placeholder. But it was marked the price of that, and the only reason we knew it was that is because they actually had the control module for the sticks. They had those in the system already, so we knew we were going to carry it. But they had this dummy SKU in there for it. We was like, I bet you this is that controller. And literally 3 days ago, they lifted it, and now you can order it off GameStop's website.
And the one that showed up, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but it was a Xbox game that was listed at $70, right?
Oh no, that's still classified. Well,
okay, that's like I said.
On the
If
back
you can't
end,
answer
it's still, I don't know what it is. We can all assume what it might be.
right.
I mean, and that's the thing though. It's kind of fun because you see people. It's like we don't really get in trouble. It's like if we actually knew what it was, then that would be something that you'd be like, listen, don't say nothing about that. But most of the time, the employees are in the dark, just like everybody else. It's like we see something, and I have people in my district that literally look for SKUs like that will post things like, this might be such and such.
Right.
And it's under a PlayStation SKU.
Do they usually show up as like an unnamed placeholder on announced games or only
sometimes so let's say Tears of the Kingdom for Switch.
Right.
It was listed under a dummy SKU, but it was like in the launch window that we had a feeling that it was going to be in. So a lot of people were like, hey, this might be the special edition of Tears of the Kingdom. And guess what? 3 days later, Nintendo announced it on the Nintendo Direct, and that SKU turned on, and it was that.
Okay, fair enough. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, great conversation.
So put it like these companies know well ahead of time what's coming. They just can't, NDAs and stuff like that. They just can't announce it until they're ready to announce it. So you'll never really see. Like I remember when the PlayStation, the SKU was held for God of War's bundle. We saw a $559.02 bundle, which is their system bundle, and it was on the same day as God of War Ragnarok coming out, and we were like, oh, this is going to definitely be a Ragnarok bundle, and they haven't announced it yet at that point. They said, oh, this is going to be a bundle for Ragnarok, because it literally releases on the same day. It's literally a $559 system. It's not going to be an Xbox because Xbox didn't have anything coming out on that day. So you just put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh, this is going to probably be a Ragnarok bundle. And guess what? It was.
It makes sense. Good stuff. So tail end of the year. Where were we? You right, probably right, Forte. Could be Avowed as well instead of Hellblade.
Could be.
I also have like the feeling that the whatever Compulsion is working on could be because they have also been working on their game for quite a while now. And I'm not sure whether that is gonna be like a big AAA blockbuster title for Microsoft, or whether that might more or less be on the level of a Hi-Fi Rush kind of thing, So I don't know whether they gonna announce the Compulsion game like years in advance, like they did with the Fable or Perfect Dark. So I don't know. And we also know that ZeniMax Online has been working on something for a very long time now, 5+ years, on a new IP. So yeah, there's a lot of potential for the end of the year. We still don't know where Stalker 2 will land. That could also be like a fall or holiday game. And in the chat, let me shout out Buck. He sends in a $2 super chat. Thank you, man. He says Indiana Jones this holiday after the summer movie. Well, we don't know how long Machine Games have actually been working on the game. I mean, Wolfenstein 2 came out in 2017.
you're gonna get State of Decay 3 before you get Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I assume so.
Even though it would be nice to get Indiana Jones with the movie coming out this year.
It kind of would make sense. Then it's back in this like pop culture
trying to time things
trend.
up.
Yeah. But I feel that when they announced it, what was it, 2 years ago? That was literally the time when they started working on the game, more or less.
Right.
Would be my guess. I still think that Wolfenstein 3, the final part of the trilogy, will come out first before they release Indiana Jones. But that could be, again, it's been 5-6 years now. So who knows? Who knows? Mav, I got a question for you from Stuffed Sean, who sends in £2. Man, thank you. He says, did Mav rent a compound for the Marchers cult yet?
Yeah. It's located in Waco, Texas, formerly held by the Branch Davidians and David Koresh there. So we just ready to move in. It's been we got to fix it up a little bit. I will tell you this though, if the game actually releases in March, we're gonna have a celebration. Absolutely. Because for some reason, I don't know what it is about this, but the speculation of March has actually made some people angry.
Okay.
And I don't know why that's happened, but there's been like attacks, right? We've been called names and stuff like that. So, you know, like if it actually happens, and in fact, the fact that that's come so hard against people that thought it was a possibility the game's coming in March, we've actually like doubled down on it just to annoy people even more that don't like it, right? So it's like, hey, we have the right to think what we want. We want to say what we want. We have fun thinking this. It's all speculation at the end of the day. There's no difference saying March or July or August or May or April, whatever, right? So we've been having fun with it, and it's kind of taken off a life of its own. Kate even made us our own logo for March. For the March.
Seen that.
It's been amazing.
Kate made that. I've seen the logo. I just didn't know it was made by Kate. So
that's a very talented woman.
She is absolutely.
I commission her for DPS.
Go for it, man. Yeah, she's for hire. I'll send you her rates.
Hey, for the work that she puts on your channel, she's definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate her a lot.
Yeah,
you're gonna love the thumbnail for tonight's show, by the way.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. By the way, if you guys are interested in any of the channels of the two gentlemen here, I have all their links in the description of the show notes. So just click down there. You will find Mav's channel and of course Gaming Forte's channel for the DPS podcast. Absolutely, guys. How is the hype level for Jedi Survivor with you good too?
Wow. I am a huge Star Wars nut, so pretty high. The original was something I did not expect from an EA studio at all. Yeah. And then also the fact that it came from Respawn, who was a traditional first FPS shooter studio, for them to be able to manifest something that great is really cool. And I like the fact that they're continuing that storyline. I just want them to make sure the Wookiees don't skip leg day this time. I want to make sure they got a full head of hair this time. The only thing I didn't like about the last trailer was the way that he ran. It just looked weird. The animation of him running looks so weird, but everything else looks so phenomenal.
It looks phenomenal.
Like, the lightsaber, I'm a super fan of dual lightsabers and having the lightsaber staff. I am so much a fan of that type of combat, and seeing it like as fluid as it was is something I can't wait to get a chance to play. And it's really just doubling down on the experience that you had the first time through it. And I think it's going to be an incredible game. I cannot wait. And I'm so super happy to see that they're getting all the success that they're getting. It just, Star Wars, Like at this point, we're Star Wars fans are just basically looking forward to games and TV shows at this point because we all dread the movies because we never know where that's going to go. So getting an experience like this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to. So my excitement level is pretty high, and I'm glad that it's coming early in the year versus later in the year.
29th of April, and
so be here before you know it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the news of the week probably has you. I don't know, Mav. Where do you land? Up, down?
On Jedi Survivor. Yeah. I liked the first game. It wasn't like one of my favorite games because I'm not a huge Souls style game fan, right? So that kind of was in that genre, right? It was. I did enjoy it. I didn't finish it, right? But mainly because I got this glitch that it forced me to lose progress, and I'm stuck. Right
that sucks.
So I never went back and restarted it or went to the previous save because it had been a little while, right? So I am looking forward to trying it. I don't have like an ultra level of hype for it. And it's not because anything to do with that game primarily. It's just because of the genre that it's in. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot like Fallen
the first
Order,
one, yeah,
right? Which that's cool. I mean, it's sure it's gonna be a great game, but there's so many games coming out this year that are like been waiting for forever. You know what I mean? Like you talk about Starfield, you talk about Diablo 4. All three of the fighting games coming out this year as well. Now that Mortal Kombat 12 was announced, Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6, you have Redfall,
Spider-Man.
I mean, then there's
coming.
There's probably about like 8 or 9, maybe even 10 games that I have probably like higher than that one. So it's all predicated on time, right? It's just, will I have time to justify spending $70 on something that I don't know if I'm going to play that much, right? Yeah. So it just depends.
Fair enough. We can't play them all, and not every game is for every gamer. I always say that, but there was some news this week. There was a big interview with the studio with the game director Stig Asmussen, and he had to say that a third game in the series is probably coming, and it's most likely going to be made in the Unreal Engine 5. He had to say the following. Let me read at least one quote from the interview. He said, "We had a pretty decent idea of time frame where we wanted Survivor to take place, what the stakes were going to be, what the tone of the game was going to be, what Cal was going to be up against, and how the crew was going to factor into that. And there is an idea of what we could do beyond that as well." So he went on, and they're already planning like a third part of this trilogy. When I read that, I said, okay, we have to talk about this on the podcast because I'm with Forte on this one. I loved the first one. It was my game of the year that year. One of the best Star Wars games in like a decade or so. Absolutely loved the combat math. I know Souls-like, but it was Souls-light, I would say. I finished that on the I don't even know what it was called, like Grand Inquisitor difficulty or so. I had such a blast. I loved the ending, which was epic, and I cannot wait to play this the second one. Already got it pre-ordered, and most certainly looking forward to the third one. So Forte, you excited that a third one is in the May, or at least in planning?
No, yeah. As long as they, like I said, as long as they're true to the story, I'm always excited for games like this. The one that I really want them to go back and revisit is the Unleash franchise. I feel like that type of franchise would be even more impactful now with all the
Force Unleashed was fantastic.
So good, man. When you're pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky, it's freaking incredible. So that's where I see like Star Wars going in like the next decade when it comes to like just the advancements in technology we have when it comes to making these games, making them a little bit more personal and more emotional when it comes to like the storytelling. So yeah, as long as they keep giving us great experiences like this, I'm always good for them to keep on bringing them out as they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man. It's gonna be exciting. Let me briefly catch up on the super chats. Tron TJ sends in $10, man. Thank you so much. He says, have you guys seen the new info about Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown? And do you think Contraband comes this year? It's been in development since 2018. So first of all, Solar Crown, I have not seen the news. I know, TJ, you were very excited for that game. Have you guys heard anything about Test Drive Unlimited?
No, this is the first time I heard of it.
I haven't heard any new news about it in a while. Maybe I missed it, but that's a game I'm looking forward to.
Hey, I know. I've heard you talk about that. Yeah, so TJ, I have to Google it after the show. I don't know. I haven't catch that. And Contraband, yeah. Contraband is an interesting one. Avalanche, when they announced that 2 years ago, they said they were already working 3 years on that game.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes 5 years this year. Definitely a time window where you could talk about a possible release. So yeah.
The thing with Contraband is it had come out from, I forget who said this exactly, but it was the usual like actual insiders who know things, right? Not the clown show that's out there. But they had mentioned that the game was originally slated, I think, for like 2021 potentially even, and that they had given it more time, right?
Yep.
So that would also add to the possibility of this year because it didn't happen last year, right? So without that, you'd think 2023 it could be a possibility. It just depends on how the game is, right? This is not the same Avalanche that made Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a different Avalanche, so people don't get confused. But this Avalanche has made great games before, Mad Max and
Just Cause.
Just Cause games. Some of them better than others, right?
Yeah,
but I think this being like a Microsoft exclusive game, one that's gonna be in Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. I feel like they're really going to put in that extra time just to make sure it's right? Other than some maybe releasing like Just Cause 4 in the state that it was in, you know. So maybe that's why they've been taking the extra time to make sure that everything is polished. This is also prominently multiplayer game, right? Co-op.
Yeah, it's 4-player co-op.
And it seems like most games like that have been the ones that have been pushed back the most. Maybe get all their systems right, and I don't know. I don't think Avalanche is really known for that, right? So
thinking about, was there an Avalanche game that had like co-op or multiplayer elements?
I mean, I think there's some in maybe some of the Just Cause games. Is there some co-op in there? I'm not sure. Multiplayer, I don't know. I don't remember. I only played it single player. So.
Yeah, me too. So I'm not sure.
2, Doom Reaper says Rage 2.
Rage 2. Yeah.
That was one they made. Also with id. But yeah, I don't know all the multiplayer games that they've made in the past. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, let's hope we at least see it this year. What else was announced this week? Elden Ring is going to get an expansion. I don't know where do you guys stand on Elden Ring? I know a lot of people said it's their game of the year.
I'm
Shadow of the Erdtree.
You know how I feel about Souls games. I just told you, so you know.
Yeah.
So I've just never and that's the thing. I own that game, and I've never got like I did the starting area of it, but I never went back to it because just other stuff came out. I'm like, I'll play a Souls game like Star Wars because I like sci-fi like that. But when it comes to like the medieval type
high fantasy
stuff like that, that's the ones that I'm like, okay, it's cool. I can understand why people love it. Like I love Sekiro I love that one because I like feudal Japan, medieval like Japan and stuff. But when it comes to like swords and knights and stuff like that, I'm like, that's why I didn't really get into Dark Souls. It's just more of the aesthetic for me. But being a person that worked at retail and saw the phenomena that was Elden Ring, man, it was kind of hard to like not want to at least jump in there. So one day I will jump in there because it is the most approachable Souls game of all of them. But I do know one person that is super excited for this DLC, and that's my co-host Slumbo Backslap. That man is
Slumbo's gonna eat this.
That
like,
man
all
is like
day. You know,
that man took a complete 180 on all Souls games when Elden Ring came out, and like he literally played nothing but Elden Ring for like the first 6 months of last year.
I think I joined one of his streams when he was playing Elden Ring. Like this was probably like 2 weeks after launch. He was like, "Yeah, Mav, this is my level 80. This is my but
right.
if you like this,
characters.
if you like this character, this is like a level 80. This I can show you how. And then if you want to learn how to play with this one, this is another level 80 character. I'm like, How did you do this?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That I liked Elden Ring in the open world area. I like the open world aspects of Elden Ring.
Yes.
But when I get into the castles, then it becomes a traditional Souls game, and I hate it.
Yeah.
So that I turn it off at that point. I start beating my head against that wall and all that. I'm like, no,
Yeah, I get that. Way back in the days before I was a father, I loved to play the Souls games, and then I dropped out of them because I lost the patience. I didn't have the time, and patience to get to play Souls games. So Elden Ring was like the first Souls-like game since Dark Souls 2, I want to say, that I played, and I really liked it. I'm not saying. We have had this on the show many times, a discussion. There are many things I really enjoyed about Elden Ring. I finished it after, I think, 85 hours or so. But it also wasn't a masterpiece like everyone made it out to be. After half of the game, it became very repetitive. Like every dungeon was copy-paste. You fought the same bosses over and over again. They didn't even think to reskin them. They literally put in the same bosses, and
they did.
So I enjoyed it. Otherwise I wouldn't have put in 85 hours obviously, but I also don't think it was such a masterpiece. So for me, the DLC, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it comes out at a good time, because this year is so stacked with games.
This year, it seems like Hogwarts Legacy is like last year's Elden Ring. You know what I mean? Like with the phenomenon, both launched around the same time, right? Yeah. And both just like became enormous, massive hits. I was curious how the retail was at the environment around Hogwarts. Is it like reminiscent of Elden Ring?
We just got restocked on it. Literally, I want to say Friday last week. Yeah. Like the first major restock on it since it's been out. That game. Now we did see the news that Hogwarts sold 12 million.
Yeah.
Which is actually faster than Elden Ring did at that time. But I will always say Elden Ring was a little bit more impressive due to the fact that Elden Ring was based on gamers. Like it was a gamer-centric reason that game sold as good as it was, except it's, versus Hogwarts, you got people that don't even play games like that are buying it because they just love the Harry Potter or they love the Hogwarts experience and they want to see what that looks like in a video game form. So it has a bigger pool to fish from versus Elden Ring. This is the funny thing. I don't know if it's going to hit 20 million like Elden Ring did. Like, I do think that this game is going to sell well, and I do think it's going to sell well through the whole year. But is it going to pass 20 million? It could. It just depends on the staying power of that game. Like Elden Ring was still... It has staying power 6 months after launch. Yeah, and it also had the Game of the Year nomination that had at the end of the year, right before Christmas, that propelled it even further. I don't think Hogwarts is going to get that. It may be a part of the Game of the Year conversation at the end of the year, but is it going to be the thing that wins it? That's going to push it over the top to get even more sales? Because traditionally, if you win Game of the Year, you're going to probably tack on another 1 million to 2 million sales over the course of the holiday because people are going to want to know what this game is about that they missed the whole year. So that's where it's going to be real interesting to see what happens. But a lot of people are going to be looking forward to this Elden Ring DLC. Shout out to Slow-Mo. Shout out to the Ash and Luca. They're going to find times to get in there and enjoy that game a lot.
And I hope it's good. I definitely hope it's good for them. Let me catch up on the super chats, and then we get into one of the main topics of the day. So this was already just intro. Drawn TJ sends in $2. He follows up on his previous super chat and says Nikon's website has the info. I think he's referring to the Solar Crown info. So man, I need to check it out after the show. I can't multitask like that. Read news and host the show. But thanks, man, for letting us know. So, guys, this week we had a actually great interview with the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer. I assume you guys have seen the interview. So, a couple of interesting things came out. First part, and for everyone who hasn't seen it, I highly recommend. It's 22 minutes long and a lot of great infos, and the interview was very well done. So first of all, Phil talked a little bit about E3 and how the team is now really focused on getting the show together. But they also are gonna have, before E3, some smaller announcements on the GoldenEye level. So what do you guys expect that to be?
What do we think he means by that? By GoldenEye level?
GoldenEye level.
I think how
big was GoldenEye in the first place? That's the question we need to really ask.
979 megabytes, I think. When you play a game when it's that size, unless it's like a Vampire Survivors, you're probably not going to have an amazing game.
Right.
But besides that, joking about the size of it was, I think, a fairly people got excited for it, right? I never really did, because it wasn't like a good like a real remaster or remake, you know what I mean?
Didn't you have multiplayer?
Yeah, I mean, there was not a whole lot there to get me excited. I like when games get really improved and better. It's okay. But it's not anything I'm gonna spend a lot of time with. So when he says that, it's like, what does he mean by that? Does he mean the excitement level that it generated?
I think
what?
Like a smaller announcement, nothing earth-moving, earth-shaking, but something nice for the fans. So I my assumption automatically was that it might have to do something with that Paradox Interactive showcase that they announced earlier this week. So maybe one or two smaller indie games that we haven't heard of yet coming to Game Pass or something like that. I don't think it's something earth-shattering. So that's what he means with GoldenEye level, or that's what I would assume. What do you think, Forte?
Wow, man, this is the thing. The only thing I hate that Phil Spencer, he's such a wordsmith.
Yeah,
he knows how to say certain keywords, like, go to the level of another game versus what was the thing that he said? What was the thing that we were talking about when he was talking about games going to other platforms? What did he say? I forget.
Where Game Pass exists.
Yeah, Game Pass exists, but it was another word. It was the desire. Remember desire? Our desire is to keep games on, keep calling.
Yeah, I remember that.
But what you mean? What's our desire? Yes or no?
During the Bethesda acquisition.
The desire to do this. So it's like when Phil Spencer speaks, we all listen because head of Xbox, and he definitely knows what he's talking about, and he definitely is a master manipulator when it comes to marketing. it just for himself, because Xbox needs to do better as a whole. And when it comes to marketing, it's really hard to say, because in general, it just ultimately comes back to they have so many things that are in the hopper when it comes to things that they could talk about, that it could be truly anything. It could also be something as small as, a DLC add-on for like Gears of War, for all we know. We don't know what it could be. It could be,
True.
they could be going back into they can go back into their rare bag and like bring stuff like Conquer and stuff out there. They have so many different directions they can go and bringing little smaller experiences. And Lord knows they have enough studios, even if they didn't work on those certain IPs. They have studios that can, work on stuff that hasn't been, brought out in a heck of a long time. They also could bring out little things like announce, what's the one game that everybody really wants to come back is Splinter Cell. They could finally announce that they could do that on their next showcase and say, hey, I know Mav was talking about that on his show the other day. The green goggles come on, it's synonymous with Xbox, and all of a sudden they just start talking about, the next Splinter Cell game. And guess what? That could be inside the Game Pass. So it doesn't even have to be first party. It could definitely be something that's driven by third parties too. So it could be a myriad of different things. I do think a lot of people just wish that they just release a bunch of games, and then, after the games start coming out, we start drumming up the hope of what's coming later. But I'm super excited to see exactly what it is, because Microsoft knows they're up against it when it comes to the sentiment of the games that they need to release. And I think they know what the score when it comes to that is. But in general, we just need to see what this stuff is going to actually be. But they're getting us ready for E3, which is their job to do. And I'm excited to see exactly what's going to happen there.
Yeah. I think we all are, right? we touched upon this a little earlier already. So, E3 this year is going to be exciting. Quick question. Do you guys think they will stick to the 12-month thing format?
They better never ever do that again.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Never do that again.
I hope not. It puts so much unnecessary pressure on the studios.
Yeah.
Right? Like it like we're all have this expectation that you don't, and it would be one thing if like they had been known for meeting expectations usually, but the last several years had gone on to where it became like a tagline of like keep waiting.
Yep.
We just keep waiting, and all that kind of stuff. So then when you you already delay, right? These games, and then you set another expectation, right? So like at some point you have to not over promise and under deliver. You have to under promise and over deliver, which they've already done this year with Hi-Fi Rush, right? Like that was a surprise. Was so they're on the right track here. I feel like doing the 12-month showcase was a mistake last year in general, because you put unnecessary handcuffs on, right? To where you can't go out and give people anything else to look forward to. Games that are further away that you also maybe want to give updates on, like those Fables and Perfect Darks and stuff like that people really want to see. Yeah, State of Decay 3 is another one. So you're like shackling yourself from giving excitement. Now, if they hit the always delivering, and then it's just like pipeline after pipeline of just like amazingness, and then they get on that train, I'm more okay with it, especially when they have the developer directs every few months, right?
Yeah.
But I think with the developer directs, that takes also the pressure of them needing to do that 12-month thing away as well. Yeah. Because they finally have that going. They already said they maybe going to do another one or two this year, right? And we know this deep dive for Starfield's coming also. So I would rather E3 be like a big focus on stuff coming sooner than later. However, I feel like they should still leave it open for new game announcements that are going to really generate the excitement that may be 2-3 years away even, or whatever. And then update us on games that you've already announced before, even if they're not in the next 12 months, because what does that mean? Like, what about the games in fall of 2024? It's okay to announce games now that might be coming out then. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's the best time to do it, is when you have the most eyes on you, right? And especially if they're skipping things like the Game Awards, right? If they decide they're not going to showcase things at the Game Awards, like after they did the 12-month thing last year, we were like, okay, well, they'll probably go big at the Game Awards, and they didn't do anything then. So it's like, okay, well, now we're going to do the Dev Direct. Dev Direct was amazing. They did a great job. But
did.
I live for new game announcements, right? At
Yeah.
these big game shows, at these big game showcases, I said this numerous times. The number one thing that excites me more than anything else is new game announcements, right?
Yeah.
So when I feel like we need to have that incorporated into the show, and we get some here and there, but no artificial handcuffs. Just go out there and make the best show you possibly
Agree.
can every single year without trying to put some arbitrary fake numbers behind it, right?
Can totally get behind that, man. I said something similar. Like when I go to an Xbox show, I want to see the Xbox games and roadmap. A reason on why should people invest in the platform, and it needs to be a mixture. Yeah. I mean, it was great. We always said like we want to see more gameplay, stop the CGI thing, and they did that in the last showcase. But with that restriction of 12 months, they limited themselves. Nobody complains about 2 or 3 CGI game announcements if you get like a lot of other games with gameplay in between.
Unless that's all
exactly.
You do, right?
You don't need to go to the
you
extremes, you know? Exactly.
Yeah.
A good mix. So yeah, man, I hope they drop that. Something else Phil said caught my attention. They were talking about AI and how AI is going to play, obviously with the success of GPT being a thing. AI will
out here write thesis on ChatGPT.
It's crazy, man. It's literally nuts. We had a meeting at work like 2 weeks ago. So how if this can help us in any way, shape, or form, it's
right.
ChatGPT is crazy, and they talked about AI and how this will play a more important role in creating games, but also not just as a tool for game development, but how this, of course, can or might change the feeling of NPCs in a game, how they behave. So that really has me excited because I like shiny graphics, I like tech and everything, but I also like these kind of things when I see like, okay, come on, this is gonna push like the boundaries on AI simulation effects and in how believable NPCs or characters behave in a world. I love to hear that. We all already know that AI is playing like a big role in game development already. Ninja Theory, for instance, a couple of months ago talked about how they used like AI voices in early stages in the development to get the pacing right before they had like the actual voice captures and lines in. They need to quickly like analyze how pacing works with the writing in the gameplay segments and everything. And for that they used like AI generated lines and voices. So yeah, it already plays a role. Where do you guys land with this technology, Forte? What do you think?
So in 10 years, maybe 15, we will be able to the world of gaming is going to be so different, just having the AI be integrated pretty much into everything that we do. I mean, the fact that I'm still amazed that Microsoft was, I mean, I'm not amazed because Microsoft is like a huge company, but you know, they beat companies like Google and everybody else to stuff like this. And I can see what Microsoft having a foothold in the gaming market like they do, a lot of this stuff being implemented into their games and stuff where you can literally, you remember when we used to have the snap feature on Xbox and you can be able to, you know, snap anything to the side. Can you imagine just hitting the guide button or holding down the guide button and telling your Xbox that you wanted to do something?
By the way, I missed that feature.
I do too.
Man, I loved it. I always used to watch my podcasts and parallel had them snap to the window and then just play a couple of games in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like watch a tutorial on something
Yeah.
that you need to do while you're playing it in the game instead of having to have your phone or something to do it, which is rudimentary, but you know, it was still a benefit.
Yeah.
I can see them doing stuff like that where you know they're using AI integrated into their systems or just integrated through Azure cloud network inside of the system in order to basically just make the gaming experience even more of a better experience, because you know we always talk about how Microsoft wants to be the center of your living room. Well, the only way you could do that is by getting people doing nothing but using your functionality as you play through the game and stuff, and that's a way that you keep people in your game. So what does YouTube do? YouTube wants to, you know, everybody that's watching this video right now, watching your stream, they want them to go and watch something right after this that's made by you, or just to stay on YouTube, which is a watch session and stuff. What if Xbox integrated a way for you never to leave your Xbox or never to leave the platform in order to do things like that when it comes to their AI generation and things like that? I think this is going to be something that's going to be huge within the next at least 10 to 15 years. We're in the baby stages of it right now, but Phil Spencer won't be head of Xbox when this all goes down, by the way, at that point. This is him just setting the, you know, for the predecessor, all the different things that's going to basically happen after they finally get a hold of all of it. But it's going to be something great when it does happen.
Agree. Mav, where do you stand on AI in games?
It's pretty interesting because you can start wrapping your head and go in a bunch of different directions. You know, you start off with talking about dialogue, and maybe that dialogue learns the things that you like to talk about and starts giving you more like options that are more of your interest. And you know, but then you start thinking about, okay, well, what if like the game starts using like, you know, this chat stuff's all based on like analyzing the internet and gathering information, right?
Yep.
So what if the player's actions, the player's choices at that point become the database of information that it pulls from to decide on what to create, to decide on what to say, decide on what to do, right? So in that case, you can literally think about a world possibly in the future where you have this basic world that they build, and at some point things in the places you go are procedurally generated based on the interest of the places you like to visit the most, the things you like to do the most. Maybe all of a sudden there's more quests like that starts popping up, right? Maybe there's more characters that are like the characters that you like to talk to the most, right? Maybe there's like different things like that. Maybe they realize you like to attack specific types of enemies, or you like to use certain weapons, so they start giving you those
certain
more
loot,
right?
or whatever.
Like, so you can completely like start. They do this to some effects with games today, right? But you can take this on another level and start building a game tailored to the interest based on the actions of the player, that's procedurally generated based on data gathering and information, and then completely build it upon what they find that you're interested in. Like you made the example of like YouTube, right? Like that, like TikTok does this today, or like YouTube Shorts.
Yes.
If you spend too much time on like one video, all of a sudden you're going to get like 20 suggestions in a row of that same genre. You can go find yourself going down this path of like, how did I get here? Then all of a sudden you start skipping those ultra fast just to make sure that they don't start, though you get off of that algorithm, right? Like they could. This is all the start of this. We're on the starting point, right? So like you talk about 10 years from now, 15 years from now, who knows what's possible? 10 years ago, cloud was just for saving files.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
That's true.
It was just for saving files. 10 years from now, what will the cloud be? What will all this technology be that implemented within AI, within the infrastructure, also with the cloud, and affect the games that we're playing? And if somebody will crack that code eventually of a procedurally generated game based on your actions and player interests, and will it crack that code and make you stay in that world longer than other games? I'm really interested to see what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, the possibilities are endless. It's an interesting technology, and we shall see where the journey will take us. Guys, I need to shout out the 150 viewers that are watching us live right now. It's awesome of you to show up here today and take the time out of your busy schedule. Really appreciate you guys stepping by. And if you do enjoy the show, it would be absolutely awesome of you guys to hit the like button. And of course, if you're new to the channel, might consider subscribing. We do those shows every week. So yeah, guys, thanks for the support. What else had Phil Spencer to say? Oh, hang on. Let me just get the super chat out of the way before we start with the next Phil Spencer topic. Andrew Source. He's been a channel member for a long time. He sends in 10 Australian dollars and says, long flight to Germany tomorrow. Do you give any credence to Microsoft selling Xbox? Oh, so first of all, safe travels and have a great trip here in Germany. Hit me up in the DM if you need some advice on which beers to taste. We had Crazy Louis recently visiting Germany, and it was like in every restaurant he was sending me like a picture from the menu and said, what do I need to try? So that offer stands, man. But yeah, we've heard that this week. Where do you guys stand? Is it an option if the ABK deal failed that Microsoft is going to sell off the Xbox division?
I mind if I tackle this one first?
Sure. Please go ahead.
No. Pundits has become my new favorite word to use, period, because that was the name of the sources that Andy Robinson used on his article. He said pundits in the industry say that Microsoft could sell Xbox if this deal closes. It is one of the most ignorant things I've actually seen a journalist say, and this was in contrast, and he was actually contradicting Phil using this, like contrary to what Phil Spencer says, because he was taking quotes from Phil Spencer saying that ABK is not a linchpin for Xbox. And basically, if Xbox, they don't close ABK, Xbox will be fine, right? Yeah. Which was opposite of what PlayStation was trying to say. Like, oh, if this deal closes, we're doomed because Call of Duty funds all of our first-party games, right? Which is the most, another ridiculous thing. Whoever wrote that for Sony probably is the same person that gave Andy Robinson that information for his article. And like, it's the most asinine thing because you don't go from investing in all these companies, building Game Pass, which is a growing subscriber base, probably around 30 million now. You buy one publisher and ZeniMax Bethesda. You have the most traction and forward momentum, positive momentum for Xbox than you ever have had as a company. Microsoft not only doubled down on Xbox, but they expanded the scope of it within Microsoft, naming Phil Spencer's CEO of Microsoft Gaming, not just head of Xbox anymore.
Oh. He's now part of the board member of the board. So that's
Then they go on to approve the biggest acquisition in Microsoft history, right? They don't like, and this was only because of the opportunity to do so. Like this was not like they're like, hey, one day we're gonna buy Activision. Like this became a possibility because of where Activision's shares had fallen to. So they struck when the iron was hot there, right? And they made that offer. ABK took the best deal. They went and shopped for more deals. They got 4 offers. Microsoft's was by far the best. They negotiated it up to 95 a share. Microsoft's all in on this. The other aspect of this, if you don't believe in Microsoft's commitment to it, the media blitz, the amount of effort, everything that Microsoft has put forward into this acquisition shows how important the gaming division is to them and their future plans with the cloud. If this deal falls through, they will shift to another strategy. They will not completely get rid of the name and focus of their entire gaming division at Microsoft. It is the complete opposite of the direction that the company is going, because the gaming aspect to Microsoft right now is the biggest driver for their cloud, right? For Azure. and all these things. It's the biggest marketer for it, right?
Yeah.
So you don't go all of that, do all these things, grow so much with everything, double down on investment after investment after investment. Like, we failed to get this company, so we're just gonna sell it off. That's just it. It was only he knew what he was doing. Andy knew what he was doing. He was doing that for attention to get clicks. He won't verify any of the sources that said it. They're just called pundits out there. Pundits. If you see the name pundits anymore, he has actually decreased the value of that word. It means nothing to me, right? Like you could look up a description that could say moron. It could say, fake person, doesn't exist, or whatever. Pundits has no value, but I will be using the word often because it's so funny. Anyway.
Yeah. Forte, you want to add something to this?
Listen, man, he right. He right. He 100% right. That's why I love Mav, because I was listening to his rant the other day about it. I just think you have a $70 billion acquisition on the table. You just spent well over 10, actually probably well more than 13 million if you include the 7 billion that they spent on Bethesda in literally the last 5 years. So you have close to 80 to 85 billion dollars tied up into your gaming division.
Yeah.
Like Mav said, which is the biggest marketer of your cloud service, Azure.
Yep.
So even if Xbox isn't doing what it needs to do profitability wise, like some people say in gaming, it's still bringing in customers from the outside that is influencing all the other divisions on top of it. So this is the thing. This is how Microsoft, and this is also part of the reason why Microsoft can do a $1 deal for Game Pass, because they're looking at it like, we lose money here in order to gain more money in these other divisions. Because if we can showcase that we got 30, 40 million people using this service and subscribing to this service, just the sheer number of it and the amount of people that are, interacting with it through Xbox, through PC, through mobile phones and stuff like that, it just makes the overall, package look even more, tantalizing to a lot of other people. So you got to think, we're just a small subsection of the money that Microsoft makes off people.
Yes.
Like we're so small. They have billion and trillion dollar contracts with governments, with military installations and stuff like that. Like the fact that they show HoloLens, what was that, almost 7-8 years ago?
Probably, yeah.
And we never seen that in a gaming application outside of what they showed in Minecraft at one time. But guess what? That thing is alive and well in military applications, in hospitals across the country and stuff, where they're using that to
commercial use as well.
Yeah,
I was watching.
So even though as a gamer that didn't see fruition for us, it still wasn't a loss for Microsoft. Same thing happened with the Kinect. I mean, that was probably the worst thing that happened to Microsoft when it came to gaming, at least, because they tried to put their whole business strategy around it. But even with that, it still finds a home in commercial uses outside of gaming. So the gaming division itself is still very, very beneficial to Microsoft. I don't see that actually being cut off, especially with all, like I said, with all the acquisitions they made, all the money they have tied up into it. It's not like it's not like Nokia when they spent $7 billion on that.
Yeah.
And literally the phone division just died.
Yeah.
And it was no reason for them to keep up with it, because they weren't willing to put the resources in to help maintain it. And that's
the difference is that phone business never was profitable for them. The Xbox division is doing very well for years already now.
So that's where I think they are when it comes to that. Now, what could happen if there's another CEO that comes in after Satya? That's something completely different. Now, we will never say that Microsoft would never pivot, because there was a point that they were thinking about doing this. We all be kidding ourselves if we didn't think that.
Sure.
Because that was coming from the top end. So what happens when Satya is no longer at the head of Microsoft, the CEO, and they get somebody else in there and they start looking at the book saying, hey, Microsoft's this $1 trillion company, this 4% that we're making here, do we really need it? I think that they still do, because I think that will be something that they can still leverage their cloud infrastructure over. But then that's when you have that conversation about, is Microsoft going to stay with Xbox?
And even now, the more entrenched it becomes within Microsoft, it becomes harder even for the
exactly
for them to sell off
like that.
And a company like this doesn't think on a short scale. Can I make the money back in the next quarter earning a report? They think long term. Can I grow the business? Can I grow a market? That's what they look at, and that's what this entire acquisition is all about. If it's for them to grow in the mobile market, grow their division, this is what they look at. And the thing about game development is you have a very, very high investment you have to put in for years and years. And they've been doing that over the last 5 years. And now they are close to getting the return of investment, aka the release of the games. When they bought all these studios in 2018, 19, and then they bought Bethesda, they had to fund those studios. They had to pay the salary and the development and everything for many, many years. And then you get the return of investment all at once, more or less, when the game comes out. So they would be super stupid to sell them off right now, because that's when they have now the chance to actually grow the business, get the return of investment, and then start to grow this entire thing. And that's what the Xbox strategy has been all along. When you look at what they do, it's not just that they try to grow their own Xbox division or gaming division. They try to grow the entire gaming market on a global scale. Now, whether they have been successful with that so far, this is debatable, but there's no argument that is to be made that has not been their strategy. They try to create this united ecosystem. They try to get mobile into this ecosystem now. I would be super surprised if you don't get like a tier in Candy Crush then when you could subscribe to Game Pass. That's how you try to grow the business.
Returns.
Yeah.
Returns in Candy Crush with Game Pass.
And who would be the buyer? There's not.
That's a good point.
Like, they don't exist. Like who exists? That would be
Tencent.
I don't know. Microsoft wouldn't do that. That's for sure. Right?
For sure.
They wouldn't sell it to Google. That's for sure. Like there's no buyer.
Yeah.
Say who it is. Somebody out there that said that. I want to know who the pundits thought would buy Xbox. Right?
It's
like Sony can't afford it. They can't even afford to buy a large publisher.
Yeah.
So
I thought you was going to say a large Happy Meal or something.
A large Happy Meal. They can't even afford a 6-piece Happy Meal.
I was just waiting for like a Happy Meal to come out your mouth.
They can't even get the Cardi B offset meal.
Oh
man. Good stuff. So where were we? Andrew, you totally threw us off the rails with your super chat. Shout out. I love that.
Shout out to support.
Absolutely. Phil Spencer talked about ABK, of course, since we are on the topic anyway, about the entire parity thing and Call of Duty being exclusive. So he reassured everyone what he has been saying for as long as this thing is going on. It's going to be not going to be exclusive. He reconfirms that. They will get parity. He touched on the parity plans. That means same content. When being asked about the graphic features, of course, a Switch version won't be able to run the same graphical features like an Xbox or PlayStation version. So of course that depends. But same content, no exclusive things, nothing. What Sony has been doing, he actually said, like that they did do these things, call them out. So, I mean, all of that was not new, if we are honest. We've heard that so many times, but it's a certain fan base, and of course the regulators that try to still think that they have a hidden agenda with the exclusivity on Call of Duty. Do you guys think this story is going to end anyway anytime soon, and that it's actually believable that they've signed contracts, legal binding contracts, to not have exclusivity, to bring it to Nintendo, to bring it to and Nvidia's GeForce Now, and if Sony chooses to PlayStation, do you guys think that the regulators will accept that?
What you think, Mav?
Oh yeah, I think so. It's already coming out today that the EU's looking like they're going to accept concessions, right? So that's a fresh report today, and it's numerous reports like from Bloomberg and stuff like that that said that they are not asking for any divestiture of or
the
assets
EU,
or anything like that. So
don't.
thing
Just for those who didn't read the news, let me briefly. What was reported is that they are unlikely to demand asset sales from Activision merger. So selling off Call of Duty was one of the things that the CMA suggested. That's something the EU won't require.
Yeah.
And they also extended their deadline for its decision making. The antitrust boss from the EU said they cannot be in a race to rule mega deals like this. So the deadline is now April 25th for the EU.
I feel like the Nvidia deal and the Nintendo deal held a lot of weight, right? And when those came out, the offer that was said that they were going to make to the EU did not actually include all ABK games, which was a rumor the day before that. So it only included Call of Duty when they actually supposedly made the offer. So I'm curious about what the future holds with that regards, because I think the CMA is going to be the final kicker there on what all concessions meet. But they're kind of tied hand in hand now with the with the EC and the CMA. The EC just moved their dates back to like their final decisions like one day before the CMA now. So those are gonna there's negotiating back and forth between them all. I feel like, and the CMA is going to be probably the stringiest, but I think the EC approval on this, when they do decide to approve it or whatever they agree to, is going to be used within the CMA as well. And as the CMA asks for like another little thing, right? Or like, hey, we'll do it if this or whatever. That's a possibility. It's looking like right now the hurdles are clearing, right? Their stock today went up like 2.5% after that news, right?
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard. So this is good signs for Microsoft, who's been, again, just like I haven't seen this kind of media blitz over an acquisition before, right? But I it's not like I follow acquisitions out there in business, but like, this is very forward facing. You see all these different articles from even non-gaming publications covered. You see these interviews all the time on like MSNBC and CNN or wherever, and executives constantly sitting down talking about this deal. What's come out largely is that the entire industry is pretty much in favor of it and has no issues with it, except for Google and Sony. Nvidia,
but who cares what Google thinks on this deal? Honestly,
exactly.
They have been scrutinized with so many other deals with all these regulatories.
It's also come out that their complaints have been basically laughed at from the regulators. Like Google is the worst possible ally for Sony to have. So it's all come down at the end of the day to Sony being the main complainant. So you just got to look at it. Well, are the EU and the CMA going to accept these? It looks like the EU is. Now it's just dependent on the CMA, but I find it more likely that the CMA will concur with the EU, because the CMA will, at the end of this, if they don't approve it, they'll be the only ones.
Yes.
Right? Because the FTC, regardless of what the FTC says they're gonna lose in court. Right.
Yes.
So they're eventually probably going to come to some kind of concession or agree whatever the EU said or whatever, because they don't necessarily want to go losing in court again. But if they do, they'll take it there and they'll lose. Right. That's what Lena Khan wants to do. So that's what they'll do. But Microsoft's already said that if that's the case, they will close before then, because they won't want the FTC to hold up or have to renegotiate the contracts, because the FTC made a prolonged experience, right? So Microsoft said they'll close regardless of what FTC says.
Yes.
They'll take it to federal court or whatever. So it's up to the CMA at the end of the day. And I think these provisions are good. They also came out and said that they will Microsoft will appoint a third party company to oversee them, so that way the CMA doesn't actually have to be the ones that oversee to make sure that they follow through on their promises. So all of these are check boxes, right? They've been ahead of the ballpark every step of the way from the beginning. They said that they're looking to close this deal probably into fiscal year 2023. It's still looking like that's going to be the case, right? Nothing has really changed from what Microsoft said as the expectations. Except for now, we're going to get some interesting stuff from Sony, which is going to be.
Oh, yeah. Cool. We will get to that in a second, Forte. One second. Let me briefly catch up on the supers that came in. Tronty J sends in $5. Thank you, man. He says, in 2017, the Xbox division was worth $571 billion, so they are probably worth $1 trillion now.
I would like to challenge those numbers.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's worth that much. They're not worth 33% of Microsoft.
Yeah, I think like Xbox is probably like 20 to 30 billion somewhere in there. Just the Xbox
without ABK, I don't know. It's
without ABK.
Yeah,
without ABK, you're probably in the mid 20s to 30 or somewhere around there, probably.
I would assume a little higher because you have you have an entire platform, not just a bunch of studios behind yourself, but the trillion. I would also challenge that number. I'm not really.
Microsoft is only like
a $2.5 trillion.
Yeah, exactly.
So what percentage? What you have to do is look at what percentage is Microsoft as part of Xbox. As part of Microsoft, and then look at what value Microsoft has, right? The other thing is Xbox is a part of Microsoft gaming. It's not the entirety of it either. Because they obviously, when they made Phil Spencer the CEO of that and called them Microsoft Gaming, there's some other intentions or plans potentially.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So Chunk Mail writes in super generous super chat with 22 euros. He says, once again, great insights. Keep up the good work. Thank you, man. Maybe you should organize a meet and greet at Gamescom this year. Have a nice cold one on me. We are most certainly gonna do that. Dutch and I actually booked 1 day longer than we originally intended to stay, to have like at least 1 day fully just for meet and greets, meeting with people from the community and everything. We'll let you guys know, of course, a little closer in how to contact us when you are at Gamescom. How we gonna do that? But that's definitely the biggest reason why we go there. We want to meet people from the community. We want to meet up with all the everyone who's going. So that's definitely the plan, and we actually booked a day longer. We discussed how many nights are we going to stay, but we decided we add an extra day because it's definitely worth doing that. So, and then we have Tom from Tonami writing in a $5 super chat. Thank you, man. He says, Michael Pachter predicted this a few weeks ago, that the FTC jumped in front of the CMA and the EU was going to jump in front of the CMA. So, yeah, it kind of looks like when you look at these three regulators, it kind of gives you the bad look when you were the last guy now to approve this. And a lot of signs are pointing towards a very positive outcome for Microsoft. Forte, this was also announced, I think, today or yesterday on this. And that is that the FTC has told PlayStation that they have to reveal their third-party exclusive deals. Sony requested to quash Microsoft subpoena, and they rejected that. So they have to go back to all the way back to 2019, January 2019, and they have to reveal all exclusive deals that they had since that point in time. TJ sent in the super chat earlier, pointing that also out that they lost this. So yeah, now they have to put those arguments on the table, or the way I at least understood it is otherwise their arguments can't be accounted for anymore in this thing. So Forte, what do you make of this? Big loss for Sony?
Man, I'm just happy that they finally got to go. Listen, it's a loss for Sony just due to the fact that they don't want to share any of this information. But it's a win for fans because we finally get a chance to see what the heck they have on the docket. Because, the one thing that's come from this ABK deal is the fact that everybody is afraid to show and talk about what they have in the oven. Sony hasn't done outside of the latest showcase they just did for PSVR for the most part, they haven't shown anything. Like
Spider-Man, and that's it.
Well, Spider-Man, and that was announced on Twitter.
Yeah, true.
That wasn't even a
Twitter blog.
Yeah. That was Insomniac coming out saying that they were on track for Spider-Man 2 still this year. Sony officially didn't come out and say. So Sony didn't even really come out and say there was Insomniac. Yeah. So I'm just happy as a gamer because this is the only good thing that came from this for me. Yes, Microsoft is getting a win when it comes to getting them to have to, showcase everything that they have when it comes to third-party deals and everything. But it's more impactful as a gamer because we just want to know what the heck these studios and companies are doing when it comes to earning our money. And that's the more important thing. So I'm super excited to see that actually happen. But the fact that Microsoft has been, getting dragged by the EU, by the regulators and everything, acting like that this is going to destroy competition in gaming. It just seems like we're at a point now where it's turning in Microsoft's favor slightly. They still have an uphill battle to go, but this is the beginning of them saying, or the regulators saying like, okay, well, Sony, we definitely still back you, but you do have to disclose some of this stuff because it's still not fair, I feel, to say that, them owning ABK is going to, make it less competition, but you're out here money hat and everything, this whole entire generation when it comes to like all these third-party deals and stuff. So, and I think that's part of the reason why a lot of these companies don't have a problem with Microsoft doing this because they're making these deals with Sony. They're like, well, we want to be able to make the deals we want to make with the people we want to make because they're the market leader. So we really can't be, we really can't contradict like doing stuff like this if we're going to make these third-party deals with these other companies. So I'm just super happy to see that this is actually going to finally come to light and we're going to get the chance to see what other games Sony has in the works for the beginning of this, not the beginning of, towards the end of this year, going into 2024.
You're on mute, Archie.
Thank you. It will be interesting to see. Forte, absolutely right. What they have. We shouldn't expect like first-party announcements because they only have to reveal the third-party deals. But since they are heavily relying on third-party this year, for the most part, as we know, at least with Final Fantasy and games like that coming out, it will definitely be interesting to see what they else have picked up. So yeah, man, I actually now that you mention it, Forte, it's been. What now, 17, 18 months since we had the last proper PlayStation showcase, right?
It's been a while.
It's been
a while. That last state of play was not very much fun.
No, that wasn't it.
It was a VR showcase with a bunch of VR games that people don't care about.
Yeah. And Suicide Squad. Actually, I liked Suicide Squad. I know
it was cool.
Yeah, I know it was controversial. Yeah. A lot of people said they didn't like it. I actually liked what I saw.
Here's the thing, but even the people that are like it, I don't sense the level of excitement that should be for a Rocksteady game.
That is true. That's
true. You know what I mean? So like for me, that's the disappointing thing. Like it looks like a cool, fun game. Yeah, cool. Yeah. But like it doesn't meet.
It's not Arkham City level,
It's not Rocksteady hype. right?
Yeah.
It's been 8 years since that last Rocksteady game, and we've all been waiting because Rocksteady had earned that place as one of the top tier prominent developers in gaming, point blank,
Yeah.
period. And we're all sitting waiting. Okay, well, what are they doing? What are they doing? Eventually, the next Rocksteady thing's going to be amazing. Oh my god, I can't wait. Oh,
Yeah.
we wait till Rocksteady makes something else, and then this is what we get, right? Which is cool. It looks like it's going to be fun. It's just not like
It doesn't have the
It's-
same
I-
hype
I
punch.
feel
Yeah.
like even after this game comes out, I'm still going to be waiting for the next Rocksteady game.
Mm.
Do you
You
know what
might
I
be
mean?
waiting
Like,
for a
I know
while.
what you mean.
it's just like that flavor, that special sauce.
I know.
For
I
me,
know.
missing it. It's got some of it in there. You can tell like the roots are in there,
Yeah.
right? It's just like the arcadey gameplay style of like the shooting and the guns and stuff. Just doesn't sit with me on like that grit
Mhm.
that I'm used to from them.
That's fair.
But it is what it is. Besides, we'll get back to the other question you were talking about the Sony stuff, right?
Mm.
That's the most amazing thing that's going to come out of this deal. Like you talk about Microsoft as a double whammy win here. You potentially get the ABK deal closed. Plus,
Yes.
also Sony has to release all these internal documents from like 2019 going forward, and which includes not only their potential slate, right?
Yeah.
But it includes maybe internal plans on the direction that they wanted to go,
Yeah.
which could also, one thing that Sony's done in the past is they've said one thing and then done another, right?
Yes.
A lot, right? That's been their
Yes.
MO this generation.
Yeah.
Well, we believe in generations and all that stuff, and then everything's on cross platform,
Yeah.
PS4, PS5, right? And then we don't think we're going to do subscription gaming. We don't believe in it. Let's launch our next PlayStation extra tier. Now you're starting to have a little bit of other games get announced that are coming day one from third parties, and we've been saying this for a long time that we feel like that's the direction ultimately they're going to go, because that's just what the direction that gaming is going. They're just like they're just being pulled along there, and they're faster than they wanted to, right? I think it'd be best for them if they dove in faster than later with that, because they don't want to get so far behind in that regard that it comes to bite them. So I think putting their games in there sooner than later is a good thing, but we'll see. I think they're going to get to that point. Game Pass didn't start off like with this huge library that we have now, right?
True.
So eventually
It was
they'll
only
get
100
there.
games at first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it was.
And they used
and
that
it's been
tagline for a
marketed
long
that way
time.
for years.
Yeah.
Like, we got 500 games. We talk about 100 plus games. Anyway, so once they get to that point, like their subscription numbers on that will explode as well, right? But besides that fact, I'm curious if we get to see their like roadmap for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, and not only that, but these exclusive deals for third-party companies that are going to be laid out on the table, that Final Fantasy VII remakes, your Final Fantasy 16s, that game like Stellar Blade that people are talking about right now, and what are the dealings? What took place to make these things happen? Like, what's in the contracts, right? Because
that's what I'm interested in. Is it really like the parity clause? How many times do we see that in there, or what else?
You remember the one that leaked before from like Capcom a while back for Resident Evil and stuff, like with the marketing rights?
Yeah.
Like the thing is that they've been making the case about Microsoft potentially being able to abuse their power to do these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
And like use their power to influence the market, dictate what platforms games show up on, and all these different things, right? And when you keep making that argument, and then it's going to be exposed that the contracts that a lot of us have already seen that have been leaked, right, show these things like you're not allowed to release your game on Game Pass. You're not allowed to release your even mention the words Xbox, or you're not allowed to do for like a year after release, then plus 3 months we get the first rights of refusal and all these kind of things, just for marketing sometimes, right? Like and that's what's listed in there. Now, if you actually look up the CMA's definition and what they've used before against companies like Google for abusing dominant market share position, it's actually that manipulating contracts in a way to prevent them from releasing products on other platforms and other places, right? So Sony's arguments about the fear of Microsoft doing this, right, is going to blow up in their face when these potentially get exposed of the playbook on how to do it, because that's how they've dominated the gaming market for so long. And
listen,
even
I said
the exclusive agreements are going to be exposed with that.
Yeah.
Right.
I said this even before we knew that they have to reveal this. It's hard for Sony to come out of this entire deal looking like the good guy. No matter what the outcome, how will they be? Let's assume this deal gets blocked. How will they continue to work with ABK? Can you imagine like the people sitting down in one room together to get like the next Call of Duty deal hammered out? That's they burn so many bridges there. Then also other publishers will look at this. How does Sony behave here? Yeah. It is, they are not coming out of this deal looking like the nice business partner that everyone wants them to be. EA and whatnot will still, of course, sign contracts and deals and release their games there. But I would be surprised if they didn't destroy like a lot of reputation and goodwill in like the industry. So yeah, Mav, great. You bring up great points. It is definitely something. I said, like, I want to see what's in the contracts, not just the games itself. I want to really see that, because we've had like the power narrative this week was a lot discussed. Like, why do we see some games perform better on PlayStation, stuff like that. And I want to see what's actually in the contracts. Yeah, how many times do we see the parity clause? How many times do we actually see developers being hindered from releasing their games onto Game Pass, or what other things are in there that we might not think of just yet? So,
right,
definitely going to be something interesting to see. I think they have like a month now, roundabout, if I remember correctly.
It's like April 21st or something, I believe.
Yeah, good month from now until they have to present those insights. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what will come out. Something else very interesting happened this week as well. So to move away from, because I know we have Mav only for another 20 minutes, so we gotta make it count. The Coalition guys is hiring for Gears 6. They put up multiple job postings this week. Job listings for candidates with experience in character creation, in camera design, in control design, AI people who know how to design AI systems. They said the Coalition is a Microsoft first-party development studio located in Vancouver, Canada. We are the official home of Gears of War, and our objective is to forge the future of the IP and push the limits of Microsoft entertainment platforms and devices. So yeah, guys, it looks like we've heard that Gears 6 is now in full production. They are hiring. And with our discussion earlier about E3, what do you think? Is Gears a possibility that we already see Gears 6 this year?
What was Gears 5?
That was 2019, I want to say. Yeah.
So it'll be 4 years this year.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man, it feels like it just came out. Well, Highbusters was a year after, so
yeah,
that's probably what it was, because Highbusters was something that was newer. I still feel like I want to see them do something. I mean, they don't have to. Okay, so when you say stuff like this, people get upset. It's like, no, they need to make Gears of War. No, I just want them to do something different, because I feel like Gears of War is one of those franchises that you need to like, in order to get it to where people really truly want it to be, you have to kind of give it a break. It has to, give people a chance to come up with really good ideas, really good gameplay elements that they can implement into it. The mocapping and stuff like that, I think is going to be super beneficial to them, especially now that they own studios like Ninja Theory that has their own in-house capture studio like that. So I think that would help a lot more with the overall storytelling aspects of it. I would be happy to see a Gears of War very soon. I wouldn't be against it because I love the franchise. But I think, just like I said with Halo, sometimes you get that fatigue when it comes to a franchise and you kind of just want to see it disappear for a while and see other things. And maybe this wouldn't be such a big not negative, but a big thing for some people if Microsoft had released a lot of other games along the way to kind of like give variety to exactly what we have. Now they have released games, but I think they just haven't released those AAA games on a consistent enough basis to make people forget about, oh yeah, there is a Gears of War that you're making. Oh yeah, there is a Halo that's coming out, because it's like kind of where all the supplemental things to those big top tier games instead of just being, shout out to Kid Smooth in this song, Halo, Gears, and Forza. I do think as time goes on, we won't this won't be a problem. I just think right now, due to the fact that they had so many delays of some of their major franchises and we're still waiting to see that stuff come out, is why a lot of people will probably be like, I'm tired of Gears of War. Because people really ain't tired of Gears of War. They're just tired of that just being always in the conversation and nothing else being there. But it's never too early for them to actually start theory crafting and working on something like that. I just think that right now, a lot of people just want to see them iterate on Gears of War. And the next time it does release, it's more impactful than they felt Gears 4 and Gears 5 was. Because, the open world was really good in 5. I think Busters was the best part of Gears of War 5. Gears of War 5 because it was really good.
It was more straightforward.
It was to the point.
Yeah,
it was to the point. It was structured. It had a narrative hook that everybody understood and it wasn't drawn out. And I think that's where kind of Gears of War 5, like the official game, kind of struggled a little bit with, even though in the game was still really good. So that's what I want them to do. I just want them to take their time and not feel like they have to release a Gears of War every 4 to 5 years. 6-7 years is good, but that also depended on Microsoft releasing a lot of games in an interment that make people say, I don't need Gears of War right now. I can play all these other games, and they can take their time on that. And that's where we need to be at when it comes to these franchises.
I agree. For the most part, I just don't want to take them a break. I want them to take a little longer because they're on that 3-year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's really the thing. The thing about Gears is, when you look at Gears 4, Gears 5, they were spot on from a gameplay perspective. They felt great.
Yep.
They had everything Gears needs. But I get the point that they might lacked a little of innovation. They tried something new with Gears 5. Some people liked it, some didn't. That's all what always happens if you change like a well-established franchise. I think that the problem with Gears is that when Gears 4 and 5 came out, we were in the middle of this narrative that Xbox only has Halo, Gears, and Forza. I would love to have a Fable, but I want to say it was Halo, Gears, and Forza. Halo, Gears, and Forza. And that's why people grew tired of Gears. If you look at Xbox now, and if you look at the roadmap of the next 2-3 years, they have such a diversified portfolio of games coming. If you sprinkle in a Gears 6, a well-established, a classic, an Xbox classic IP, I don't think it gets the same sentiment like Gears 4 and 5 did. So I don't want them to take like a big break. I just want to take them a little more time. and really figure out where's Gears going. Don't make it the same mistake like they did with Halo and try to make it into a games as a service title. But try to figure out where do you go with the IP and bring the second trilogy to a fantastic end. I want to see it. Mav, what do you think? Gears 6.
I think it'll be I mean, we could, if we saw it at E3, it would be like a reveal for a game coming out in the next year at the earliest. I think.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they are supposedly in full production on it now, right? Which is cool. I am a little bit with Forte. I wish that the other project that they had been working on would end up coming to fruition. But according to leaks and insiders out there like Grub, that they're no longer working on that, right? So
yeah,
I think they originally announced that they had multiple projects that they're working on. This was like 2 years ago, I think. So that's obviously changed now, right? So now we're focused on Gears 6. I'm thinking maybe it was because they just were further along with that. Now they just maybe were like, hey, let's just go full force into this thing and really make a Gears showpiece. But regardless even of that, you look at when they were on that 3-year cycle, that 2016 to 2019, that was between Gears 4 and 5. That's just only making Gears, right? So there was no like big hurdles they had to fall through. There was no pandemic. There was nothing like that at that time. It still took them 3 years to get from 4 to 5, right?
Yeah.
So then after 2019, you say they're working on a couple other projects that they experimented with or whatever. And you also had the whole pandemic that lasted still somewhat, like effects are in the industry still, but majorly in 2020, 2021 and all that kind of stuff. So you're thinking that's probably takes things a little bit further, right? So I think you at minimum have a 4-year dev cycle on Gears 6 and more than likely a 5. So I wouldn't necessarily anticipate this game this year for sure. I would maybe anticipate it possibly late next year or maybe early the following. So I'm looking at maybe early 2025, late 2024. You know,
I'm with you there.
That's just a guess. Just a guess. I wish it was something else though. I don't want them to stop making Gears. But I always thought Coalition is like so freaking talented, especially with Unreal and with the Unreal Engine 5 and everything they're capable of and all the stuff that's happening, all this stuff. I just wanted them to potentially do something else just to wow everybody and like create a whole nother IP. One that they could do a thing where like Naughty Dog did, where they would switch or Uncharted Last of Us, Uncharted Last of Us or whatever. I would love for the Coalition to evolve into that kind of studio because that would help Gears out, in my opinion. You have a little bit longer wait between the sequels or between the games. You get more excitement, more anticipation.
Have 2 IPs where they can go back and forth. Yeah.
The other aspect of this is maybe why they made their change and went full force into this is because there is that Gears show in the works, right? And maybe they're trying to line that up. Hypothetically.
I haven't thought about that, but yeah. I mean, it definitely would make sense to have, like, when you have a TV show adjacent to it, to have a game ready. I haven't thought about that, but yeah, would make sense. Definitely. So yeah, we shall see. Like you said, they are super talented and they helped out so many other studios. We've heard they work also on State of Decay 3.
They helped on Halo Infinite. Remember, they helped on that a little bit too. And who knows what they're helping on now? Also, I mean,
we don't know.
I think Xbox is our good buddy 3-Bit, who is on our shows, talks about it. That one thing he learned with his time there is that the teams within Xbox, within those studios, do share stuff a lot, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they're not helping anybody else that may be working on something Unreal.
Yeah. Listen, Mav, I know you need to go in a few, so I'll quickly ask you the following thing. Project Dragon was kind of revealed, at least officially announced this week, from IO Interactive. They announced that they are making an online fantasy RPG that was supposed to be Xbox exclusive, Project Dragon. No mention of platforms whatsoever during the announcement. They said the following: "We are building a new world, a new IP, an online fantasy RPG, a world and a game built from the core to entertain players and expand for many years to come." They also released one concept art along with it. So, yeah, Project Dragon. We've heard about this game for like, I want to say at least a year, 1.5 years. Where do you land with this announcement? No platforms have been mentioned. So
yeah, it's still, I guess, we heard about this because of Jez originally, right?
Yes.
With all of his project names he likes to give us. Love it.
Yeah.
Right? Turns out things are always true. It's weird, when you follow the right insiders or pay attention to them. So this game, I feel like it's gonna maybe 4 years away. Who knows? It's gonna be ways off, right?
Yeah.
They're probably made this post more for hiring and stuff to recruitment.
Could be.
Possibly
Makes
as well.
that easier. Yeah. Because they are also working on that not GoldenEye, but on the James Bond game.
Right. They're making it. They're making that. They've still been supporting Hitman like crazy.
Yeah.
So they're an amazing team. Supposedly this one is that game that's going to be a Xbox either Game Pass game or Xbox published game or something. It was rumored before, but we don't know 100%. Things can always change as well, right? So, but if this game is that, it's huge for Xbox because IOI is very talented. I like when we just talked about this, when studios step outside their comfort zone and do something different. Maybe it doesn't always hit, right? But I like to see a studio like IOA trying to do something like this. Like, it's multiplayer focused fantasy. I mean, it's just checking a lot of boxes for me, man. Like, I one of the most talented studios out there that's made one game really for a long time.
Yeah.
So that
one
has
franchise here.
That has my interest peaked more than anything. What is a non-Hitman game going to look like here?
Yeah.
Right. And we'll find that out with Bond also. But this is like Bond, you can kind of see that. Well, Hitman to Bond, right?
Makes
it's
sense.
Like a natural progression. They get hired to do that game, whatever or they licensed it because they are a good fit. But like this is like a completely different territory, right?
Yeah. High fantasy.
It's like Horizon to Fable for like Playground, right? This is like that, almost like that big of a jump. So I can't wait to see what it looks like down the road.
Yeah, same here. So Forte, before we get your thoughts on this, Mav, I know you need to pick up your daughter. So want to say a big thank you for taking the time to come on here today. Let people know where they can find you and what you've coming up.
Yeah, man. Thanks for getting me out of here because I do have to pick my daughter up from school.
Yeah.
But awesome show as well. I was super happy when you invited me and I saw Forte was going to be here as well, because that's my dude right there. I absolutely love Forte. He's just a amazing person in the community.
Absolutely.
And a great podcast that he's going to have later tonight with DPS. And I'm sure he'll tell you all about it on his outro.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I want to thank you and keep up your great show. Keep up the great traction you have here on World of Gaming. Everybody in the chat, this chat was absolutely amazing, except for like the one troll I keep seeing just post nonsense over and over again. Anyway, besides that, if you guys want to find what we have going on, just follow on Twitter at Fun Speculation or check out YouTube Fun Speculation, where we have multiple podcasts. We do 3 podcasts a week. Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time, we have Fun Speculation podcast. We talk about all consoles. Plus, we also look ahead at the games coming out for the week. Thursdays, we have PM in the PM with my buddy Pong Soul. So if you want to see the leader of the marchers and the co-president,
where it all started
at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we will be live tonight. We're looking forward to it. Pong's hyped. I'm hyped. It's going to be a fun show. As long as the storms don't knock out my power. So I'm crossing my fingers.
Fingers crossed. Stay safe, man.
Also, Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time is the show that started it all for our channel, Xbox Ultimate Podcast. And we're looking to have a fun time this Friday and man, there's a lot of nonsense to talk about. So that's the show where if you want nonsensical conversation to talk about nonsense, that you want to tune into Xbox Ultimate, because we go left, right, sideways, up and down, all over the place. So check that out, everybody. Appreciate you again, man, for having
Absolutely. I highly recommend to everyone to check it out. One of my favorite shows, your Xbox show, the original show from your channel is usually my weekend podcast. When I run my errands over the weekends, it's always when I listen back. I usually don't catch it live because it's like 2 a.m. my time when you guys air.
That's like 4 for you, I think.
Or even 4, something like that. So, but I always do listen back. Great channel you got there. It's highly recommended. And guys, if you need to find his channel, just click in the description of the show. You will find everything there. His Twitter, the YouTube channel, and everything. So, Mav, thanks again for coming on.
Have a good one. And I'll let you fix your squares on the overlay when I bounce. Peace.
Absolutely.
Take it easy, everybody.
Okay. See you later, bro.
See ya. So, and there we are. Forte. Yeah, Project Dragon. Man, where do you stand with this?
Yeah, just like Mav said earlier, man, I'm really interested. It takes a lot for me to, especially because it's like, okay, when you play a lot of games and services games, it takes up a lot of your time.
Yeah.
So the fact that all of the stuff that I'm hearing about it seems so interesting, it really makes me want to jump into that. And I will jump into it day one when it finally does release and stuff. I just think in general, like Matt was saying earlier, when it comes to IO, having that type of partnership, seeing something outside of the Hitman franchise is something that I've definitely always been a super fan of. They have a really, really good engine when it comes to like developing stuff, like the fact that a lot of people on PC use their games to test high-end hardware to see exactly what we can actually push the limit to when it comes to these games. So I'm really interested to see exactly where it's going to go. I like to see developers take chances on new things that they never did before. And plus it just diversifies your portfolio. Can't say words right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what that's going to be in general. But from everything we hear from it, and shout out to Jess, the real insider. A lot of people, him and Rand always say that. Rand says he's not an insider. I always tell him, I said, listen, I always tell him, I said, listen, you may not think you're an insider, but you work with an insider every week.
Yes.
So by proxy, you're an insider. And he was like, shut up, Forte.
But, I said something similar to him in the green room when he was on our show a few weeks ago. Because I know for a fact, for instance, when Jess published the article about him seeing a certain part of the gameplay of Avowed, he showed that also to Rand, just to have proof that the footage actually exists, so he knows stuff.
That's why I always laugh at him. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what's going to happen with that.
Absolutely. You guys both pretty much covered it. I want to see what they can do outside of Hitman, because like as much as I'm excited for the James Bond game, that's such an obvious move to do exactly. After Hitman. So completely different kind of thing, an online game, high fantasy RPG. Definitely going to be an interesting one. So Forte, usually at the end of this show, we have a segment that we call the community questions, where people can write in questions up front. Even if you are not part of the live chat, you can send in some questions or topics that people want us to cover. A lot of people also use that, of course, that listen on the podcast services around the globe to get some of the questions in here, and we have a few very good ones. I'm gonna throw a couple of those at you.
I'm scared. Let's go though.
All right. Jonathan Smith writes in. He says, "Hey guys, sorry for my late question. He just sent it in like a few minutes before the show. No problem, man. but I recently have been fascinated by ChatGPT AI program and its capabilities, and it led me to pose this question. Do you think it will be likely for game developers to implement this type of AI tech into speech for NPCs in their game?
Wow.
We talked about ChatGPT a little bit earlier, but this is a real interesting thing. So,
the funny thing, what would happen for that to really be a reality? You would have to have it so we have seen a lot of NPCs or a lot of developers implement the silent protagonist role when it comes to your main character.
Yeah.
Which some people love, some people hate because they feel the whole purpose of it is to make you feel like you're the hero or you're the hero of your own story.
Yeah.
And it's playing out in front of you. But if you want to take that to the next level, you have, if AI gets to that point, you can actually have meaningful conversations. Like, say you have a headset on and there's dialogue options in the game that you can pick from. It is like variations on how you can ask those questions.
Yeah.
And as you're talking, like you're interacting with the game itself, then the NPCs react to what you have to say. And we saw with, like, especially with ChatGPT, that those responses like are fast, like 2-3 seconds. Like you can literally ask it a question about anything and it can write you, like I said, it's funny because it can write you a thesis in less than 5 seconds, and it's all with links and formulas and everything. So we're already at the precipice of where the latency between the question being asked and being responded to would fit perfectly into a video game atmosphere, in a setting. So if we ever get to that point where we can like talk to the game and interact with it with our own voice, and then it responds back to us, that's where you would see something like that in an RPG really, really take place.
Oh, yeah.
Because at that point, I mean, you'll just be basically having voice actors just voice the AI's voice.
Yes, lend their voice for the AI
words and stuff at that point, which would be really cool just to lend your voice to something like that.
Would be cool.
It would be cool. That's what I'm saying. It's like on some other stuff. So I can see it happening, but that type of implementation would be a decade from now at least.
Probably. It will be a long time, but I can see that, especially in those, extensive RPGs where you have like branching narratives and your actions actually influencing the world. And of course, a developer doesn't have to rely on pre-written lines on possible choices of your behavior in the world, but the AI automatically adapts to that. I mean, the potential is huge.
Especially, because the biggest thing is they can still have parameters for how far the AI is willing to go outside. Because like I said, the biggest thing is with RPGs is the wall of text that you get, or like you said, the conversation branch tree that you get. So let's just say they give you, like, it can still structure you in the game so it doesn't go off the rails, where instead you can do the traditional way by clicking the option, or you can say any of those questions in a variation of ways that you want to say. It doesn't have to be word for word. It could just be, hey, you can say this conversation like this, and then the game will respond to you in kind to whatever that parameter for that question is. I think that would be really, really cool, because then you don't have to be as generic as saying, how did you get here? You could probably say, how the heck did you get here, man? How did we really get here? Then that it will talk back to you the way that you kind of talked to it. I think it would be really interesting to see games go to that, level of realism, honestly. Because then it would be based on your demographic. It would be based on the conversations you have with your friends in the backgrounds and stuff like that, because everybody talks differently to everybody. I don't talk to my wife the same way I talk to my best friends. I don't talk to my best friends the same way. I mean, the way I talk to my coworkers is completely different than the people I talk to outside of my job.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That would be the thing that I would like to see implemented. That would be a really cool thing. That's a really good question, though.
Yeah. Fantastic question, Jonathan Smith. Thank you. Dave Ramos sends in a question. Hey, folks, can you take out your technical magnifying glasses and tell us, consumers, could the Switch provide an enjoyable experience with modern Call of Duty games? Or alternatively, how long do you think it would take for a developer to deliver such a game? So I go first if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Switch has surprised us sometimes. I know it's a potato hardware-wise, but hey, we have games like Doom running on that machine. So I think at the end the question is how much are developers willing to sacrifice? I mean, the footprint of Call of Duty has always been 60 FPS ever since the 360 PS3 generation. Call of Duty games have been running at 60, so I don't see them sacrificing that. But so yeah, they would have to dial down resolution, level of detail, things like that. And it's a good question. How far can they reduce that to make a Call of Duty run? I don't think it will be a question, because at the end, if this deal goes through, let's say by summer, and Nintendo then gets Call of Duty games, that doesn't mean that this year's Call of Duty is absolutely no way coming to the Switch. That version isn't in the works, and I highly doubt that the next year's version is also gonna come. They will need a few years to adapt to get the Switch version in the development pipeline. So I would assume that we are then already talking about the Switch 2 being the target hardware. What do you think?
Woo! People know I love my Switch.
Yeah, me too, man. At some point before the pandemic, I said there were times when this was my most played system. I used to travel a lot for work reasons. So I love my Switch. It's a fantastic console. I still play it a lot nowadays, especially with my kids. They are old enough. They're 5 and 6 years old now, so we play a lot on the Switch. Cannot wait to play the Mario Kart map pack, by the way, that just dropped.
Just dropped. Shout out to Nintendo for giving you a traditional way, and at least they give you a non-traditional way to actually get it instead of having to get that expansion pass. The online expansion pass. Yeah, it's like, oh, cool. At least I could buy it separately for $24, which Mario Kart's the main reason to own a Switch, if you don't own one already, guys. But yeah, I agree. I think in general, when it comes to Nintendo, it's time for a refresh of this system. Now, the question also, the biggest question for me comes down to how much does Nintendo care about being the most sold console of all time? Yeah, because the Switch will do it
if it's just long enough on the market.
if it's long enough on the market, unless they just come up. Because I think we're at a point now where I'm not saying that they could just come out with a more powerful Switch and just call it the Switch Pro, and then it would just count sales just like the Switch OLED does, and everything else. It all counts towards just Switch in general. But it really just depends on if they plan on refreshing it completely, keeping that same handheld hybrid system, but calling it completely something different. Because once they do that, not saying that Switch sales are going to die, but they're going to pretty much kill it at that point. And people are just going to want to just get the newest thing at that point, especially since Nintendo hasn't been the type of company that's going to they'll price gouge you to death when it comes to the games and never drop the price of it.
Indeed.
But they won't price, but they don't really price gouge you on a system like the systems. They usually don't try to go above 300, 350.
Yeah.
They don't go into the $400 price range.
They leave it at a approachable price point for the mass market.
For the mass market. And honestly, in my opinion, I feel like they should, because I feel like Nintendo's one of the few companies that could probably get away with a $400 system that is more marketed towards everybody, because I think that's kind of what they need when it comes to like just how our games and stuff are going at this point. So one of my favorite games on the Switch was Diablo 3, which most people don't know. Diablo 3 on the Switch, that's the best version of Diablo 3. It's even better than PC. It is. I
have it. I have it on the Switch.
I have it on everything. Yeah. It's literally okay.
I don't have it on everything. I have it on Xbox, Nintendo, and PC.
If we don't count some of the performance issues that the Switch does have, which it does have some issues, but as a game, that game is built to be in handheld mode. Yeah. It's great over there.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for Diablo 4 to come out. I already got it pre-ordered and wait for the open beta
the super special golden.
Yes, the $100 version of it. Yeah. So I do think that they just need to do something when it comes to that, because Call of Duty is all about 60 frames per second, fast Twitch play, gameplay. Now, a lot of people are going to say that they could do something like cloud streaming. I don't know how I feel about Call of Duty doing that, especially when you got games like Fortnite that are natively on the system, and that is the type of game that you're kind of going up against when you're doing like that. You also got games like, people laugh at it, but you got a shooter like Splatoon on a system that runs at 60 frames per second. That has a very huge audience on the Switch. And,
again, Doom runs at 60.
Doom, yeah, exactly. So I said you have a lot of games that definitely do that. So I do think that they do have to refresh that in order to have. But you also remember when Phil Spencer made those statements about the deal, he also talked about, he just said Nintendo platforms. He didn't specifically say the Switch.
Yes.
He said Nintendo platforms. So I don't think this iteration of the Switch would see it. But I do think whatever their next thing, that I keep hearing rumors, shout out to Spawn Wave, talking about all of the different things that they're hearing about Nintendo in the background. There's a good chance that we might get some type of information this year, or even a refresh this year of the Switch that we don't even know about that's coming.
A refresh in like they did with the OLED, or really like...
No, I think they from at this point, they really can't. The refresh of the system was the OLED. I think the next refresh needs to be more power.
More power.
It has to be more power if they're going to do anything.
Got to pre-order it the day they announce it.
Absolutely.
You know that.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, going to do it.
Yeah. Dustin Lambert in chat says, Metroid Prime also running at 60. Man, I'm still waiting for my copy. Damn you, Amazon.
Oh, you ordered it through Amazon and still haven't got it yet?
No, I haven't. I
Is it a back order through Amazon? I can tell you like this. First of all, we got it 2 days late at GameStop. Got it 2 days late. And we still haven't been restocked on it since it came out on the 21st. And nowhere, websites don't have it. It's going for over $100 on eBay right now.
It's crazy,
because it's a $40 game selling for $120 on eBay.
That's crazy, dude.
You would think that Nintendo would be like, oh, we need to get more of these out there. But I always look at the cyclical side of Nintendo. They're the only company that will tell you months in advance that we're going to release a game, Mario 3D All-Stars, and say it's only available for 6 months. And after 6 months, we're taking it away from you. Okay. And they're basically building in resale value at the third-party side of it by telling people that. And they're doing the same thing with this Metroid Prime. And it keeps them relevant, honestly. It keeps their games and their software relevant, because guess what's going to happen? As soon as they do a refresh and they release those Metroid Primes out there, or they release another run of the Mario 3D All-Stars, what's going to happen?
People will automatically buy them instantly because they're scared. Yeah.
And Nintendo doesn't care how it's bought. They just care if it's bought.
Now I need to check my Amazon order again.
I need to get this. The game's awesome, by the way. I bought,
can imagine.
I bought a copy of it. I put about 6 hours into it. It's really good, and it fits the handheld ecosystem very, very well.
So hang on, where is it? Yep.
He's like, man, still on back order.
Yeah, still on back order, man.
When did you pre-order it? Late? Or did you do it?
Hang on. When did I? On 20th, February 20th.
Okay, so you did it the day before it came out. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you're way back in the.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still waiting for that. I can't wait to play it.
So this is what I tell you to do. Going forward, you be the words of wisdom to anybody that's buying Nintendo products. Tell them, if the game seems like it's going to be a really good game, Nintendo likes to do stuff like this. So you don't want to wait to the last minute to get your pre-order in on a Nintendo game, because it's a good chance that you probably won't be able to find it after the fact.
I'm gonna pre-order Zelda Tears of Kingdom right away. Then
I'm telling you, I mean, when you saw the collector's edition is already gone. That
I wouldn't go for that anyway, but
$120 for that thing. I did it, but I was like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. I can't blame you, man. I can't blame you. I'm gonna just pre-order the regular edition.
Right.
Yeah. Drawn TJ writes in a $2 super chat and says, "Do you think? Excuse me. Do you think Nintendo makes an actual console?"
Man, the Switch is a console, man. It's a console that you take on the go with you.
And I think that they will stick with the hybrid format. It has been so successful for them.
Yep.
And what would be the other way? If they make an actual console, they would also have to make a handheld again, because that's what they used to do. They always had the handheld and the home console. So I don't think that they are going to switch that concept up. At least not in the foreseeable future. I will think they will stick with that format, or they do something really crazy, completely new, like they did with the Wii or something. I don't know. But yeah, since it's been so successful, my guess is they stick with that approach.
At least for one more year.
Yeah. Yep. So, last question before I let you go. Bavari90. We have a few. So, Bavari90 says, "Hey guys, since Phil Spencer mentioned that June showcase, what do you want to see most gameplay-wise from an already announced Xbox first-party game? He wants to see Fable. He's dying to see Fable. Have a wonderful podcast."
That's the one that I don't think you're going to see, unfortunately.
Really? You don't see? I
think Fable. Because Fable, for some, I feel like Fable is is going to be their fall 2024 game.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like that's going to be the game that you're going to see at the early showcase of next year. Probably the one that's going to be in February or March, because if they keep up the same cadence, they'll probably do another one in February or March next year, and that will be the one that's leading into E3. And it just really depends on when Fable's going to release. Is it going to be the holiday game, or is it going to be like a early or mid year game?
Yeah.
I would like for people to see Fable. I just feel like Fable, if we do see Fable, will it be what people want to see? Will it be will it be gameplay? Will it be something more like we saw with Starfield, where they just showed like it in engine? we could probably see something like that at E3 this, or not E3 at the June showcase.
I mean, we've seen Starfield. They've shown continued gameplay for that.
I'm talking about the initial time they showed it outside.
The initial, okay. No, I don't think they can do that again because they've already had like a CGI trailer or something, and even if it's just an in-engine trailer, I don't think that's enough. So the next time you have to show it, you have to at least. Maybe not like 10-minute continued gameplay, but like these segment little snippets, 10-second.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. They'll do something like they did with Hellblade, where it was technically in engine, but you weren't like in the playable scenario where you're behind the character, which is what I think a lot of people want to see. So for me, I already mentioned it earlier. Hellblade is number one.
It's the one.
Is the one that I that's the one that I'm looking forward to the most, because I feel like that's the game that it seems like that has the opportunity to be the game that showcases what the Xbox can do, period. Where I think Starfield is the most anticipated game because of just the how huge that game is, and how big the franchise is,
the depth and the name it carries with,
in the name it carries itself. But when it comes to just taking advantage of what the power of the Xbox can do, being only on Xbox and only on PC, even though Starfield's the same thing, but it was also being developed to be a PlayStation game at some point too. So that build is still out there somewhere. I do think that Hellblade has a chance of just being something marvelous, especially when you're playing it. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is that one game.
That's a good one, man. That's definitely a good one. I'm with him on Fable. I see potential it being there because over the last, I want to say 6 months or so, we have seen a lot of Xbox executive mention Fable, from Matt Booty to Major Nelson, Phil himself. Everyone is mentioning how great the game looks and that they want to give
that's true.
The team the chance to show it when they feel it's ready and not dictate it on them. And we've heard it so many times. So I kind of have the feeling also it's been a very long time in development.
That's true.
6+ years is what we are looking here. So that's definitely one. But the other one that I want to mention here is Avowed.
Yes,
I'm a huge Obsidian fan. I love that. I love the I love a high fantasy setting. And basically, everything we've heard so far about the game, officially and unofficially via leakers like our good friend Jess Corden, it is more or less Obsidian's take on Skyrim. Saying that out loud alone gives me goosebumps. The incredible talent of having deep RPG systems, having like down to the point writing in conversations with Obsidian, and now having like the proper funding, the proper budget, the support on a technical level and everything. I cannot wait to see what Avowed is gonna be. So yeah, but there's so, that's the thing. There are so many Xbox games to look forward to. So let's hope.
Yeah, somebody in chat said the Indiana Jones game they really looking forward to seeing if they see it since the movie comes out this year. Yeah, I do think that you probably will see something from that on there. And now that I think about it, I do think you'll see Fable. Now that I think about it, I was thinking more of Perfect Dark. We're not going to see this year. We're not going to see that. I don't think so either. They have so much stuff going. That's the one I was actually thinking about. Perfect Dark is the one we're not going to see this year. Fable, yeah, I do see them showing something. I don't know how much of it they're going to show, but I'm really interested just to see what Turn 10, what Playground does with their first game that's not a racing game inside of that engine. And that's going to be something. Yeah. We already know that they know how to make a world and make it look lively and make it look like photorealistic, because Forza Tech engine is really, really good when it comes to that. Now I just want to see if all of the graphical designers and all of the engineers and all of the artists that they brought over to the project that they've been hiring consistently over the course of the last couple of years, how that all gets put together and telling a narrative story like Fable. And that's what a lot of people are looking forward to. So I agree with that.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. How good will the writing be? How good are they in quest design, in character animation, things like that?
I think the quest design side might actually be surprisingly well for them because they are already used to working in the open world. They already are used to having like point A to point B when it comes to like designing quests inside of Forza. Now they just have to do that in more of a narrative spoken way when it comes to like interactions with other people instead of you just going to an area doing this, going to an area doing that. So I do think they have an idea of how that works. It just, until you see it in practice, that's the thing that people are really looking forward to the most. Yeah. I just want to see what the map looks like for the first time, because remember when they showed the map from Skyrim the first time? And everybody was like, this is ridiculous.
And that's what I'm looking. We had no idea how big it actually was.
And it was bigger once you got into the game because they only showed you a part of it.
It was, man. TJ in the chat says Avowed has the original writers from KOTOR working on Avowed. I did not know that. Awesome. That's a good one. I love KOTOR. It's a game I play. I want to say once a year. I love it.
You played on what you played on? Still original Xbox?
No, I have it emulated on PC. That's where. And actually, I tried it on mobile. I did a full playthrough on the mobile version. I only beat like 2 games or so on mobile, and KOTOR is one of them.
Man, just laying in your bed playing KOTOR.
Actually, I play a lot in bed, usually via xCloud.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Definitely.
Since you said you have a few, let's bring in the very last question of the day, because it's also a good one. True Iron Leg writes in and asks, what IP would you like Microsoft to revive first from the ABK deal?
Ooh. From the ABK deal. Man, they have so much.
I have instantly, of course, StarCraft in mind.
I was going to say, listen, the one I love StarCraft. Actually, it's my desktop background right now for my PC.
Oh, nice.
The one thing that I've always had I can't stand Blizzard for is the fact that we never got StarCraft Ghost.
Yes.
I always wanted StarCraft Ghost. I always
man, that looked so fantastic.
I always wanted the Nova story to just be told.
Yeah.
And StarCraft would definitely be it, because it just seems like ever since the last patch that they did for StarCraft 2, it's been just nothing. StarCraft is definitely up there for me.
Absolutely. Harry in chat says Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk's not dead though. I mean, they just released. Technically, they just did remasters of 1 and 2, so that's the last thing they did.
They were proper remakes, actually, but they were fantastic, man. I loved it.
Yeah, they were. They were really good.
They were really good
remakes.
Yeah.
There's not too much that they haven't. Cause they made a Spyro game recently. They still do Crash games. Oh. Transformers. I need them to. I need.
That's a good one.
Transformers to come back, because that was made by High Moon Studios.
Yeah,
was War for Cybertron. I need Microsoft, if this deal does go through, because they do own the rights. Activision owns the rights to those IPs. I need them to get the licensing to make I need High Moon Studio to make another Transformers game. That is the one thing I've always missed out on ever since they stopped doing them. Those Transformer games, War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, those were so good.
Yeah.
Really good games. So, that's what I want them to revive. Transformer franchises will be really good fits inside of Game Pass. the marketing probably for them won't be as much, especially since the Transformers isn't the same thing as it used to be. But for people that remember those games, they were incredible.
Great shout, man. Great shout. Absolutely. Pitfall is the one that comes to mind.
Pitfall, yeah, okay, yeah.
Pitfall. I played that on my Super Nintendo. I love Pitfall. Dronty J sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you, man. He says, bring back Prototype Vigilante V8 and Blue the Racing Combat game. I never played Blue the Racing Combat game.
I never did either.
So,
I played a lot of Prototype, though.
Vigilante, yeah, man. That was a good one. I played that on the N64.
Do you still have all your old consoles?
I do not. In a weak moment during my mid-20s, when I ran out of money, I sold them. And now I regret it, man. I regret it now.
It's like I do the same thing. It's like I think about all the consoles I had, and I was like, the only old console I still have is my original Xbox. Everything else I recycled out. And the only reason I still have my original Xbox is because I emulated it, and then it's hooked up. It's hooked up in our game room where we can go back and play all the games on there. But sometimes I not even sometimes I do regret getting rid of that stuff now.
The thing is, I really had like every console I want to say that came out after the NES. I think maybe some weird ones versions.
I
also
even had a Neo Geo at one point, and that thing
nice.
That thing is $200 for a cartridge.
Yeah.
That was a Christmas and birthday gift in itself just to get a game.
Yeah,
one game.
It's crazy. So no, I do regret it. I did get bought over the years a few of them back. So I still have a GameCube, for instance. Is one of the most underrated consoles ever made.
Right next to Dreamcast.
I still have I bought a Dreamcast like 5 years ago or so. Again, what else do I have? I have a Mega Drive as well. I have a Super Nintendo, and I have a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance.
Oh, well, you recouped some of it at least.
Yeah, so I some of them I got back, but I regret selling them all. Would be an awesome collection by now.
Yeah, the cool thing about those games I always look back on is sharing them with your friends, being able, because there was no internet back then like that. Yeah. And being able to say, "Oh, I have a Genesis," or "I have a Nintendo. You have a Nintendo. Oh, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Let me borrow that. I'll let you borrow my Life Force, or I'll let you borrow my, my Contra, or something like that." Yeah. Just being able to the proper way to share a game was like that back then, and it was super fun, man. And that's the one thing I miss about that generation. And then the only other thing I miss about it is just the camaraderie of being able to just play with your friends on the couch.
Yes.
We take it for granted now because, we can do stuff like we're doing now with a podcast. We can see each other this way. We can talk on Discord or Xbox Live parties. But the one thing that, the only negative to that is just the ability to like have fun with your friends in a setting. And gaming will never be I don't care what people say. Yeah. You will never have as much fun playing games as you did when you had to carry a large Trinitron CRT TV to another friend's house to play Halo or anything like that, because it was so amazing to do stuff like that. Because that's what true gaming was back then. Yeah. Any means necessary.
Yeah.
You would find a way to play your games.
I remember specifically, you get your driver's license in Germany when you're 18. I was 16 or 17, and at a friend's house, he made a LAN party with Diablo 2 at the time, and I asked my mom whether she can drive me there, because like carrying my PC and my CRT there, I'm not driving you to that stuff. And I had to walk like 40 minutes to my friend's house carrying the monitor, had to walk back carrying the PC there. And then I spent like 3 days straight over at his house, with 8 guys in one room. It's like those moments, man, it's different. It's different than what you have today. As much as I appreciate online and all the convenience it provides, it was a different time. Yeah. So
we took gaming real serious. Like, we take it serious now, but we took it way serious back then. This is tamed compared to what it used to be.
yeah, indeed, man. Good times. So yeah, I think that brings this show to an end. We're almost closing on the 3-hour mark, man. But that's what happens when you have fantastic conversations. The time just flies, man. So I want to say a big thank you for taking the time to come on here today. I had a blast. I absolutely appreciate you coming on. Thank you, and let everyone know where they can find you and what you've coming up.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Like I said, sorry it took so long to get to this point, but better late than never. But for myself, I really appreciate you and everything you do. The journey that you've been on with this channel over the course of the last 5 years. The success couldn't happen to a better person. I know that you put a lot of hard work into this, and I know it's going to pay out for you in the end. And shout out to your amazing, chat that you have here.
Thank you.
It's a lot of crossover from a lot of people I see in other places. And that's the one thing I'll say about the community. We all support the people that need to be supported. Yeah. So make sure you guys hit the like button, share this with everybody so we can get more people in here for his next show. Is always a great time in here. But for myself, Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, and PlayStation. We have DPS Podcast. That's me and my homeboy Slumbo Backslap. We do that every Thursday, 9 p.m. EST. It's going to be on my channel this week. So make sure he said he has it linked in the description. So definitely go check that out if you want to see it tonight. It's going to be a great time. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that happened today or this week and last week. And it's going to be a great time. But
I love your show. Honestly, you guys, you don't find that often where just two people have like this chemistry and a conversation feels so natural. So highly recommend to check DPS out for everyone. Absolutely.
Yeah, we fight a lot. That's
no, but it is. You guys, it comes across so natural with you. It's
because we genuinely disagree on a lot of different things. It's funny when we do agree on certain things, but ultimately that's the thing. We can disagree and still be friends at the end because guess what? We're talking about the thing we love the most, which is games. We're not talking about each other's families and how we hate this and hate that. No, we're talking about video games, and that's supposed to be what the conversation is. And the moment you can appreciate that is the moment you can appreciate just having a genuine conversation about anything when it comes to like just the hobby you love. So that's how we do it, and that's how we're going to continue to do it. So if you like that, come check us out tonight. And once again, I really appreciate you, and we're gonna have to get you over there on our show. We're gonna have to, even if we gotta make a change in the schedule to get you over there, because we know 9 p.m. is real late for you.
Yeah, it's 3 a.m. for me. So
right. So even if we gotta do a change to get you over there,
I'd love that, man.
Yeah, we'll get you over there one day. We'll talk in the back end about it. But I appreciate the invite as always, and great show as always.
No, thanks again for coming on. Truly appreciate you. Love your insight. Love the takes you have and all that you do for the community. And super appreciate you taking time to join us here today. So thanks everyone to also in the chat, man. A big shout out to you guys. Also a shout out to everyone who listens after the fact on the podcast services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen. Truly appreciate you guys. Also, I want to say a big thank you for the super chats that came in. Means a lot and helps a lot. The support is amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. Next week, we're gonna have Wandering Dutch back from his vacation in the Netherlands. So he will resume his position of the co-host, and we have another great guest lined up, but I can't announce it yet because he's like he said to me like he can make it 90%. I should wait with the announcement if nothing changes. So definitely stay tuned for that. Other than that, I'm already working on the next video, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, I want to say again a big thank you to Forte. Shout out to Mav, who joined us for the most part of the show. Shout out to you guys, and I see you guys next week. And don't forget to game on.